Hello everybody, welcome back. Another design day. Redesign, remaster, remake, refix, modify, whatever you want to call it. We are here to deal with some things in Dungeons and Dragons 5e. I often do this at the end of the week. I go through and we sort of remaster or adjust something, and I have picked Epic Boons. That's right, Epic Boons. So we're going to be going through that very shortly. I'm going to get started in a second. I'm going to place a poll up. Feel free to take part in that poll. Feel free to put in your 2 cents. I always find it interesting to see what people have to say about anything that I cover here. Grab some food, some drink. I'm going to be here for a while. I would imagine, I would like to think it would just be 2 hours, or heck, I would prefer to think I'll only be here for 1 hour. I don't know how long I'm going to be here for, but there are a certain number of things to deal with. So now that you're comfortable, you've got your food, your drink, you're ready to go, you've got your ideas and your opinions ready to put forward, let's rock into this. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5e. That's right, Dungeons and Dragons 5e and Epic Boons. Do the Epic Boons for Dungeons & Dragons 5e, do they need to be remastered, fixed, modified, adjusted? Is there something wrong with them? And I frankly think there is, because they're not that epic. I hate to say it, if you thought that Epic Boons were really that epic, I can tell you now that if you have a look at what they do and when you get them, there's not an awful lot going on to be excited about. And there's not a lot to sort of pin them down to what they probably should be doing in the first place. I'm going to get rid of my hat. My hat is gone. I'm going to give you just a basic overview of what my intentions are today in terms of my goals for doing this. I'm going to be very quick, much faster than before when I was doing races. So they have to be simple to adjudicate. So that's fine. We understand that. The other thing is that they need to be epic. Epic boons are assigned to a character normally when you reach level 20 or above level 20 if you want to keep playing beyond level 20 and you're really sort of heavily modifying the game. Now, of course, you could give out epic boons before level 20, but the intention behind them is that they are something you can't get from a class. You really can't get them to a large extent from casting a spell. You can't get them by having a particular type of species or race, probably in many respects. They're not accessible in that way. They're not going to be accessed by little add-on features that you might get with regard to feats and optional bits and pieces. Even magic items may not be able to fulfill the epic boon, although the epic boons are essentially in the section on magic items or treasure in the Dungeon Master Guide, this book here. So I would say they're definitely more in line with the magic item, but they're tied and connected to your character that you are playing as a player. So this is where I want to go with this. That means for me, I don't want things that have a limited use. I don't like the idea of resource management with epic boons. If you can't have it, don't give it to them. But it still needs to fall in line with being get it level 20 or above. So don't expect me to do anything with long rest or short rest mechanics. Don't expect bonus actions, reactions. Most of that I have no interest in doing whatsoever. I also have to build this for my own home group and for them to agree to them, and it needs to make sense to me. But more importantly, one of the big factors and one of the reasons why I need to do this is I've been remastering the different classes, okay? For those of you who have been paying attention to my channel, I've been going through the various classes. I'll be going back to the classes. We have, I think, 4 more classes to deal with, which is I have to deal with the Druid, which is a hard task. The Warlock, which is a very hard task. We have the Bard, which is going to be contentious, I can tell you now. And we have the Paladin. Those 4 classes are probably one of my biggest headaches, and I have to deal with them at some point, okay? So I'm going to deal with them, but one of the big problems with the remastering of the classes is I give out people, and I like the idea when Wizards of the Coast first put this forward, I like the idea of giving people an epic boon when they get to level 20, along with a signature feature for that class at the top capstone. Okay, so how do you do that? I have to have those epic boons sorted out so that when my players go through and want to choose something, there's something for them to select. So today is the day. I'm going to make it quite clear. I have no intentions of focusing heavily on combat because, frankly, at level 20, you don't need combat features anymore. It really is unimportant. There are other things that are far more important. So those are the things we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and have a look at the various epic boons and see if we can do any tinkering with them to actually make them sit in line with what they need to be. So this is it here right now. Okay, I have a little document. I have some notes down the bottom. I'm not going to show you my notes. Should I show you my notes now? I don't know. My group had already given me sort of examples of things we've done before. And so, yeah, I'm really, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll show you what I've got. I'll show you what I've got. These are the notes that I took down just now and also with my home group. We had unicorn mounts. So what does that mean? Do we have a feature that means you get a unicorn? Maybe an exotic mount is an epic boon. Maybe that's one thing that we can do. Or we also did discuss pets, because we have a person in the group who really likes pets and don't like the idea of their pet constantly being killed. But the truth of the matter is they don't really want their pet to be able to do anything like fight in combat. They just want to have a pet that they can have come around and hang out with them. They're a pet lover. Okay, it's to be expected. There's always going to be a pet lover in the group, and we do have a pet lover in our group, so we might need to deal with that. That might be just specifically built for the one player in my group who really likes the idea of having that sort of thing. Wings. We've actually had people have wings. Glenn, Mr. Welsh. Now, Mr. Welsh, I would say, is probably an expert in playing at extremely high level. He talks about it all the time. Hello, Glenn. How you doing? Just go higher level. Just go higher level. Glenn, I'm here. I'm hearing you out. So by all means, share what you think the epic boon should be doing. So what we did is, at high level, one of my character actually wound up with wings. It was limited sort of flight. I couldn't just fly anywhere indefinitely. I believe JP put some restrictions on that. Plane shifting. We've already got a lot of that going on in our class, the remastered classes anyway. Telepathy is a big factor for me because communication's actually really important in Dungeons and Dragons, and yet we don't have anything around communication. So I marked down telepathy. Now, I put down swim speed, growing gills, and so forth. But really what I was talking about, or thinking about, was amphibious, breathing air and water. But there are races that you can pick that do that. So I'm like, And then the only reason I put down damage immunity to a damage type, and really it would be just one, is when you're really, it's really more about the fact that there's nothing out there that allows you to travel to a different plane of existence, like the fire plane or planes of existence, which are really difficult to survive in without some sort of fire immunity or some sort of damage immunity. You would simply vaporize almost instantly. So I was thinking about that, but that's why there's so many question marks in front of it. So those were my notes, but let's go and have a look at what Wizards of the Coast has done and see if we can't fix some of this stuff. Starting at the very top. I have always said if the pet is not used for combat, I won't target it in combat. Fair enough. Hand them a teleportation circle they can control. They can earn that. See, this is when I was thinking in terms of that sort of thing, I was not thinking in terms of a teleportation circle. I was not thinking about the entire group gets to travel wherever they like. That's wonderful, but that's not really where my head was at. We'll come back to that, don't you wait. Okay, so Boon of Combat Prowls. Now, I had a look at the Boon of Combat Prowls. When you miss with a melee attack, you can choose to hit instead. Once you use this boon, you can't use it again until you finish a short rest. It's got a short rest mechanic that there I would get rid of almost immediately. Okay, this is one thing I'm not a fan of short rest mechanics, so that's gone. It's probably all going to be gone. Okay, and I'm just going to warn you now. Here's the problem. If you've ever played a level 20 character, you will know that the chances of actually missing your target because your attack bonus is so high, the chance of actually hitting that target is really high. Like in all likelihood, unless you roll a 1 or a 2, you're always going to hit the target you're going after. And because most monsters have an armor class of no more than about 20, you might see a 21 or 22. It's very rare. It doesn't happen that often. There are so many different ways you can add advantage to a dice roll too on top of that. And because you essentially, there's really like a 5 or 10% chance for a level 20 character not to hit the target. That's kind of amazing. There's lots of ways you can do it, but it's definitely a huge factor. So hitting a target with a melee weapon rather than missing is like it's a nonsense. Because when you miss, you just roll with advantage because you've got inspiration, or the bard starts rolling out their bardic inspiration, or there's some other thing you can do. So I think that this feature as it is kind of completely pointless. If anybody can think of a way of fixing combat prowls, by all means, put it forward. Now, I had a look here at the Unearthed Arcana they put out not that long ago to see if they'd done anything else that would make it more interesting. When you miss with a melee attack, you can hit instead. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you roll initiative. Essentially what it's saying is you can only use this feature once every battle. That's essentially what it is. If I was going to include something like that, that's how I would write it. But it's really not that epic. It's really not that useful because it's going to come up such a rare feature to actually come into play. And it's really not that interesting. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so I rolled a 1. I don't have to worry about the 1 I can hit now. So I'm not a huge fan. So let's just, I'm going to just put in here, once you use this boon, you can't, okay. Really, what you just say here is you can only use this boon once per battle. That's it. That's really all that needs to be said. If you're going to put anything in there, that's really all you need to say. Okay. But I'm putting this in yellow because I honestly think as it is a boon, it's kind of shite. It's not that exciting as far as I'm concerned. It is definitely, actually, it's not even yellow. I would say this is orange. Very, very likely to get removed for me because I just don't see any point. Okay, next. Let's have a look at this next boon that they've got here. Boon of Dimensional Travel. It sounds really cool. When I hear the word Boon of Dimensional Travel, I think, wow, are they finally letting you travel the multiverse just when you want to do so? Is that something you can do? And apparently, no, it's not. So let's have a look. Is there another feature that's kind of like this that maybe would be a good substitute? Well, it says, as an action, you can cast the Misty Step spell without using a spell slot or any components. Once you do so, you can't use the spoon until you finish a short rest. So essentially, it's a short rest mechanic. Again, I am not fond of short rest mechanics. So right now, my first instinct is to remove it. Let's have a look and see if Unearthed Arcana did anything with the Boon of Dimensional Travel. Here we go. So it says pretty much the same thing. Cast a spell, don't expend a spell slot. Basically it's saying until you roll initiative or finish a long or short rest. So in other words, they're allowing you to use this in battle, but it's just Misty Step. It's 30 feet. It's not a big deal. So dimensional travel is not necessarily an escape from a battle. It's not really what it's designed for. It's clearly not set up to be used to escape a battle, which is an interesting concept. I actually wonder if maybe it should be an option. If it was, you can only use this once per battle, okay, or it's got a different sort of time frame around it. Do I have a problem with them dimensionally using dimensional travel to travel or send themselves somewhere? But would it be Misty Step? See, the problem is Misty Step is kind of shite. This Misty Step business, that spell is really low level. It's a first level spell, and we're going to give it to somebody at level 20. Would you be excited if you had the option of multi-classing or reaching the pinnacle of level 20 to get an epic boon? Would you give up your level 20 epic boon of dimensional travel, okay, and just take a feat and spread it out, or multiclassing? It's not taking a feat, multiclassing. Would you choose to multiclass rather than take dimensional travel? I would say I would probably multiclass. I know my group, they're all power gamers. They would probably multiclass over taking this thing. Yeah, for what it is, it doesn't do anything like what it says. So let's have a look. Is there anything else in these things that kind of looks like this dimensional travel nonsense? I don't know that there is, but there might be. Here we go. Here's a boon of planar dimensional travel. Planar travel. Here we go. When you gain this boon, choose a plane of existence other than the material plane. You can now use an action to cast the plane shift spell, node, but blah, 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 targeting yourself only, and travel to the chosen plane, or from that plane back to the material plane. Once you use this boon, you can't use it again until you... So right now, look at this. We've got this feature, which literally allows you to travel from one plane of existence to another, or a different plane, and then we've got something that allows you to Misty Step. The name is cool. What it does is garbage. I mean, really, it's garbage. Boon of dimensional travel sounds great, but the other feature that I just showed you is significantly better. And boon of dimensional travel, I would just call this boon of dimensional travel. This here is much more of what we're talking about. That makes more sense. Let's keep that and this idea and go back to this thing. And this here, a waste of your time. Really, if we were trying to do this, what you're trying to do here is teleport. Boon of teleportation. That's really what this is trying to do, is teleportation, not dimensional travel. Teleportation. That's what that's trying to do. And it's very, very limited. It doesn't really do very much. It's not even a decent teleportation. It's literally Misty Step. So if I was going to put anything in here, I'd put teleportation. Teleportation. Boon of teleportation. Da da da. I don't know about the spell business. We'll come back to this. Let's go down here to this one, and I'm going to head back up in a second. But I want to work with this here. This is where we're working for now. The problem with this boon and the way that it's structured, I think, ultimately is that it's really complicated. It's telling you that you cast the plane shift spell, and really what we want to do is not use the plane shift spell. What we want to be able to do is be a plane shifter, and whether you call it plane shifting or dimensional travel, frankly, couldn't care less. Okay? But if I have a look at the player's handbook, is there a way of structuring it, taking out the magic spell business, because it doesn't need to be a spell as such. It just needs to be a feature that's tied and connected to you. Because if you're really godlike, then does it really need to be structured as you cast a spell? And I don't think it does. So plane shift. Did I find the word plane? It's P for P, 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 M, P, meteor swarm, plane binding, plane ally, plane shift. Here we go, plane shift. So it's an action to do it. Touch. So you can do it on 8 willing creatures, which is not what I want to do with this thing. Dimensional travel, what I want to do is I want to get rid of this bit here. You can gain this boon, choose a plane of existence other than the material plane. Let's get rid of this. If we're going to let them shift and change planes, let's just let them do it, okay? I think that's much more in line with being epic rather than some nonsense like this. So here we go. You can now use an action to cast. Now, let's get rid of action to travel. Whoops. Did I get it? No. Try again. Travel. You can now use an action to travel. I forget. Let's get rid of this. The spell component business. Targeting yourself only and travel to the chosen plane. Or now that's it. That's all I want. Let's forget about this nonsense. Let's keep it a lot simpler than that. And let's see if we can lock this down. Now we are. What I would like them to be able to do is to be able to travel, but there's another factor here. Is I'm fine with them using. I'm actually fine with them having a feature at level 20 that allows them to escape a really bad situation. I know what you're thinking. If they're in a battle and they can escape that battle, they could go back. No, they can't. If we word it right, they can escape. That's it. And I'm all for players having not have to run like a silly, if you're having to run away from the battle to get out of the fight and you want to take something like dimensional travel, I'm actually kind of all right with that as let's get you out of a pickle when things go badly. There's a choice to be made whether you decide to do that. I guess the question a lot of people are going to say is, but Fred, if you do it that way and you allow them to be able to do that in the middle of a battle once, then they will never die. The level 20. How the heck are you supposed to kill a level 20 character in the first place? Have any of you ever played a game and managed to kill a level 20 character? It's pretty difficult. I've used Meteor Swarm. Doesn't do it. I've used more than one Meteor Swarm. Still didn't do it. And that is 20d6 bludgeoning and fire damage, if I remember right. And if you the only characters that potentially you might be able to kill with Meteor Swarm is you'd have to drop it twice, and you'd probably have to drop it on a spellcaster and hope that they don't succeed on their saving throws at all. Like they manage to fail all of them. There's literally what would have to take place. So dimensional travel, I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't think it's something to worry too much about. Not at level 20. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a look here at this plane shift thing. I'm going to remove a lot of the spell casting nonsense. We're not going to include other people. And so you can now use an action to travel to a different plane of existence. Okay, we've got that one. Anything else? Targeting yourself only and travel to the chosen plane. Once use this. Okay, so targeting only. I think that's all we need to say. Okay, once you use this boon, you can't use it again. So during a battle, you can only use this boon once. That's it. That's a level 20 feature. Now, outside of battle, I have no problems with her dimensionally traveling all over the place. I managed to TPK a level 20 party, but they all failed 3 saves in a row. That's what it would take. You'd have to fail 3 saves in a row for it to happen. Dice God to players, game over. Yes, and that, Fred Hooper, that's exactly my point. Is really, it would take literally, to give you an idea, I've had really high level games where the players have survived roughly about 2.5 rounds. I think by the halfway through the 3rd round, they realized. Well, actually, they realized in the 1st round they were out of their league. They were dealing with titans and gods, and they spent the 2nd round setting themselves up to try to escape, because the 1st round they got smashed to bits by this titan. And the 2nd round, they were setting themselves up, trying to get close enough to everybody so they could really teleport or dimension door out of that location, because they were high level. But of course, you need to be close enough together to be able to do that, right? And so they were having to run to cover because they couldn't stand out in the open. They were just getting smashed to bits if they just stood out in the open. And then they were having to sort of huddle down behind rocks and stones and walls and so forth, and then just hopefully wait for the person who could cast the spell to get out. So there is a way to do it. And so I think that battle lasted roughly about 2.5 rounds. We didn't get right through the 3rd round before they booped out. And they were lucky. That was very, very close. So I feel like this is more in line of where I want to be. So I'm going to put that there. Now, that's dimensional travel. Let's go back to the teleport idea. As an action, you can teleport. You can teleport. Now, I don't want to put in the spell. Again, I want to remove the concept of the spell. I just want to put in the word teleport. And if you remember what I said about magic items, the most powerful features that you can ever give to your players are always mobility, the ability to move. So teleportation, plane shift, they are the most powerful of all the things. Gates, they are the most powerful thing that you could potentially give to your players. But they're level 20, remember, or higher. So I wouldn't worry so much about it. So let's draw this up in such a way. Again, let's get rid of the spell bit. As an action, you can teleport yourself only. And I don't want to include other people, because I really want it to be, very much about yourself, not the entire group. It's really going to be very much focused on what you can do rather than how can I share out my special. That's what a spell is. If you have if spellcaster, you use teleport. Right, let's have a look at teleport and see if we can make this attempt at teleporting actually look like it's an epic feature for a level 20 character. Teleportation. And I'm not using the teleportation circle, because as I said, that would include more than one individual. So here we go. So teleportation, the actual spell has lots of little problems. Okay, there's potential for you to screw it up and wind up in the wrong place. And I don't want to have that complexity. So what we've got to do is nail it down that you can teleport yourself only to a location you have been to in the past. I think that's what we want to do. There's no distance requirement on this, and I'm fine with that. So, as an action, you can teleport yourself only. Teleport yourself. We don't have to say only, just yourself. It should be clear. Yourself to a location you have been to in the past. Okay, now I still want to put because this would be able to potentially be used to bip back and forth into a battle, which I don't want them to be able to do. I still want them to be able to use it out of combat. Outside of combat, I have no problems if they want to teleport to different locations. It's actually perfectly fine. You're thinking, Fred, teleportation is not another plane of existence. Teleportation within a world, okay, essentially means that now they can infiltrate without having to infiltrate. They're level 20 people. It's probably the most sensible thing for them to be doing at level 20. If you are still requiring them to sneak past the guards at level 20, you have missed the point of level 20. You're using the wrong tool. That is the sort of thing you do between level 1 and 10, not level 20. You're not sneaking around anymore. It's not a big issue. I know people are going to find me. I know people are going to think that I'm being way too generous. Again, I'm going to keep reminding people, level 20 people. It's level 20. Okay, so during a battle, so here we go. Let's see. During a battle, you can only use this boon once. So this is, yeah, there we go. So this is to stop you from booping back and forth from one battle to another. But outside of battle, I don't care. Does this make you essentially the best infiltrator in the group? Probably. Probably. But it's easy to adjudicate. You know you can only use it once during a battle, but you have unlimited uses any other time. This stops you riding. Why are you still riding around on a horse at level 20? Why are you walking from one place to another? Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. You got to also remember, just because you can teleport to the location doesn't mean that everybody else can teleport. So just because you can teleport there doesn't mean everybody else benefits from this, because they don't. Not the way that the feature is written. It's only yourself. You can't target anybody else. So it will still have some limits to what it can do. Anyway, keep going. Let's move on to the next one before I get stuck on this and start ranting. For those of you who would like to point out how I'm already ranting, totally agree. Boon of Fate. I'm just going to have a lozenge because my my body is not functioning as well as I'd like. Okay, Boon of Fate. When another creature that you can see within 60 feet of you makes an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw, you can roll a d10 and apply the result as a bonus or penalty to the roll. Once you use this boon, you can't use it again until you finish a short rest. I really don't like this feature. It's a dice mechanic. I really don't like this feature. Again, I want you to think about really carefully. If you have the boon of teleportation, would you decide to miss out on having teleportation for yourself at level 20? Or would you prefer to go in multi-class? I would say I would go with the boon of teleportation over multi-classing. I would always pick that one over the multi-classing thing. Multi-classing, yes, I can definitely get a few more abilities, but the really low-level stuff. And how much extra damage do I really need to do by multi-classing? Boon of teleportation changes a lot. I now have a get out of battle. When things go bad, I can get myself out. I can infiltrate, provided I've actually been there before. So here's another thing I think we'll do here. As an action, you can teleport yourself to a location that you have been to in the past. So you won't be able to go to a place you've never been before. The teleportation only allows you to travel within the world you currently are on. I think that's the other thing. We don't want it to be used like dimensional travel. A world that you currently are on. The world you are. Okay. You are on. Okay, I think that's got it. I think we can nail that one down. Okay, so let's move on. We'll come back to this. Boon of Fortitude. Your hit points maximum increases by 40. Can anybody think of a time where an extra 40 hit points at level 20 would be preferred over multiclassing? Now, 40 hit points is a lot. For a martial character, that's almost equivalent to 4 levels of hit points. That's a good strong blow from a high level monster, right? It's not going to take all of the impact of a high level monster, but it's certainly like one blow from a high level monster to a certain extent. That's if you're using Wizards of the Coast monsters. If you're using mine, I can tell you at level 20 you'll be taking 100 points of damage every time you get hit by a laser beam or a big fist. But that's a different story for another day. I don't think that Boon of Fortitude is that good, frankly. Boon of Fate, I wonder what they did with the Unearthed Arcana of Boon of Fate. Do they actually keep it? Boon of Fortitude, Boon of Fate may have even been ditched completely. Epic Boon of Luck. Here we go. Basically, it's this thing here. Again, merely after, they didn't do anything particularly different. They just changed the wording. It's just called Boon of Luck rather than Boon of Fate. Boon of Luck, Boon of Fate. I mean, it really doesn't matter what you call it. In either case, it's just a dice roll. Changing a dice roll. You might say, well, the potent feature for the Divine Wizard is really powerful. I suppose it is. But I still don't think that it's going to be the thing you're going to want. Next, Epic Boon of Fortitude. So they've added a little extra bit. So it's not just increasing your hit points. In addition, whenever you regain hit points, you regain additional hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. You can regain these additional hit points no more than once per round. Okay. So what they've given you is they've given you more hit points and they've given you kind of like regeneration, haven't they? That's what they've done with this. Regeneration. That's essentially what they've done. Why don't just give them regeneration? If you're going to give them regeneration, would you agree to having regeneration of 10 hit points per round over increasing your maximum hit points by 40? And is it something we really want to do? Remember, when you think about how much damage does a monster do at really high level, think about how much damage a monster does at really high level. A level, let's say it's level 20, we're dealing with level 20 monsters. The average damage that a monster is supposed to do per round at level 20, if it's challenge rating 20, is 123 points to 140. So getting an extra 10 hit points every round, if you're taking up to 123 to 140, which I don't think any monster in that Wizards of the Coast has ever created has ever done, and that anything above level 20, challenge rating 20, that you should probably be facing above level 20 as well, challenge rating 20 and up to 30, never puts out anywhere near that kind of damage output. Regeneration of 10 hit points like the Troll is actually not a big deal. I actually think as a boon that might actually be better than having the Fortitude thing going on here. What do you got here, Fred Huber? 40 hit points are about what I expect from a 3 levels of Barbarian with their con bonus. Exactly. But 40 points can be huge for a wizard. Yes, it can. It can. I agree. I would say it is. But would you take that option? Would you take the Boon of Fortitude and your 40 hit points if you were level 20 and a wizard? Would you do that? Is that the thing that you would really take? And I'm really not convinced, frankly. I'm not convinced. I much prefer the idea of looking at this feature and saying, well, actually, maybe it should be structured differently. Instead of it being a flat thing, we could just give them regeneration like a troll. Let's have a look at the trolls feature. I'm not a huge fan of giving people more hit points or better ability to smack. Regeneration of con bonus per round is plenty of regeneration. Frankly, whether it's your con modifier or it's 10 hit points, I really don't think it will matter in the slightest. Come on, dude. You know as well as I do. You're pumping out more than 100 points of damage every time you smack something that's, if your monsters aren't doing that kind of damage output at level 20, then you're doing something wrong. At least per round, not necessarily a very strike, but at least per round, you should be pumping out that kind of carnage on your players. Otherwise, remember, a level 20 fighter could have 256 hit points. It is possible. It can be done. A barbarian, very easy to do something like that. Very easy. Take the average and your con modifier, do the math. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me what the average hit points of a barbarian who's probably got a con modifier of 2 or 3. And if you look at the features and how the barbarian works right now, it's probably going to be even higher than that. So you tell me how many hit points you think a barbarian or a fighter would have at level 20, and I'll tell you now, giving them 10 hit points as regeneration is probably perfectly fine. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the trolls. Here we go. Troll feature, regeneration. You regain. So the troll regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn. That's it. That's what we should do. I think that's all we need to say. I wouldn't even worry about acid and fire damage or anything like that. I would just give them regeneration. Be done. That's what I would. That's how I would write it. So I'm going to put this in. You regain 10 hit points at the start of your turn. That's it. Now you're thinking, that means they're always going to be on maximum hit points, aren't they? Outside of battle. Okay. All right, we're going to put it in yellow. I've now had another think about how that's going to look, and I think that might be a problem. This might be a feature that's probably shouldn't be something that they have. But 40 hit points is just not going to do it. It would not move me and say I would not multi-class. I would still multi-class and not worry about Boon of Fortitude. I think that's my first instinct, is it's either going to be something like this or it's going to be something else. Anyway, moving on. Boon of High Magic. You gain a 1 9th level spell slot, provided you already have one. It never comes up. I think I can count on my hand maybe 2 or 3 occasions where players have really wanted to have another 9th level spell slot, because you only get like 1, right? It hasn't come up that often. Again, I don't know that this would have to be rewritten a lot for me to consider it worthwhile doing other than multi-classing. Let me just have a look and see if I can find that. Did they refix it, or did they do an adjustment to it? I think they removed it completely. Boon of High Speed, Archery. No, that's something else. That's a feat. Those are feats. Oh no, no, that's first level epically. No. So they didn't even include it. They just removed it completely. They didn't even bother with it. They got energy resistance. I think energy resistance is kind of ridiculous. Why would you bother? Epic boon of night spirit, whatever. Okay, and boon of luck. No, I'm not really convinced by that either. So I think what I'm going to do is this here, I'm marking for deletion. I don't think there's much you can do with this. What are you going to give to somebody who already can cast spells at level 20 that they don't already have? As a person who plays spellcasters, there's really not much more you can give to me. I've got most of what I need, particularly if I'm playing a wizard or a sorcerer. So I don't really need anything else. Giving me one more slot at 9th level is kind of like giving me something that... I mean, you don't ever really blow your 9th level spells unless things go really badly anyway. I can't remember too many occasions where people have used them. Maybe Wish, when things really bad and the whole party's about to be wiped out or the world's about to be destroyed and they don't know what else to do. But I am not really convinced by that at all. So, yeah, I'm thinking that I'm going to mark for deletion. Boon of Immortality. I'm going to just go here and put this in orange because this, I think that's more of a problem than anything else. I think this boon of fortitude regeneration might actually be more of a problem. Okay. Yeah, it's powerful but limited, but the problem is with the boon of high magic is nobody's ever going to take it. They're more likely to multi-class than to ever consider the boon of high magic worth taking. Do you know what I mean? It's just another 9th level spell. And I mean, what else are you going to give them? What else could you give them that would be better than one 9th level spell for high magic? I can't think of anything else. Other than giving them a 10th level spell. What is that? What does that look like? They don't even exist now. Okay. Boon of Immortality. You stop aging. You are immune to any effect that would age you, and you can't die from old age. Now, this would be fine in AD&D and older versions of Dungeons and Dragons, where dying from age, where monsters could age you and you could perish, would be good. But I don't think that's going to work very well. Honestly, I think this is a kind of, again, one of those useless features. 5e just doesn't have that many things that crop up with regard to aging. Did they do anything with this in the Unearthed Arcana to try to improve it, or did they just remove it? I don't even see it here. Did they change the name? No. No. I see nothing to suggest that they even retained it. I think they just completely removed it and decided to ditch it. They did. That's how bad that one is. Even Wizards of the Coast realized that this thing was completely useless to you. Is it the sort of thing that you would like to have as a sort of like a godlike figure at level 20? Yes, I get it. But here's the thing is, I mean, even the monks feature is a little weird. If you have a look at how the monks feature works, where you don't age, you can't, you know, this is really, really strange as a feature. Again, I think this should be marked for deletion as well. Unless somebody can think of a better way to write it, I don't think we keep it. I think we ditch it. Okay. You can see I'm removing a lot of stuff here. I'm going to have to add in a bit more. I know, I'm aware. Boon of Invulnerability. When you take damage from any source, you can reduce that damage to 0. Once you use this boon, you can't use it again until you finish a short rest. I'm not fond of this because it's a short rest mechanic. So for me, that's a problem. Do I want them to be able to reduce damage in a battle? Once you use this boon, you can't use... okay. See, this is where I would change this bit here too. You can only use this once per battle. That's it. That's all I would say. If you're going to retain it, that's how I would write it. because otherwise you have a game master who never includes short rests in their game, and so your mechanic would never work. So you've got to structure it in some way that you know, otherwise, I mean, why would you have it in the first place? Now, are we willing to, when you take damage from any source, you can reduce that damage to 0? So this needs to be structured in such a way that we don't wind up losing any damage coming through all the time, every single time. Have we done so though? Have they done a better job somewhere else here? Let's have a look. I don't even think the boon of invulnerability even exists now. Being able to negate damage from one blow at level 20. I mean, it's pretty good, but would it stop me still? Would it still stop me multi-classing at level 20? I'm going to level 20. Would I decide to take this as a capstone, or would I multi-class? I'm just thinking about this now. Damage from a source, you can reduce that damage to 0. I'm on the fence. Would anybody think differently? I think this one, maybe I would consider it. Once per battle, if I could reduce damage from a single, you know, you take damage from any source, you take. It's got to be worded differently though. The way that it's worded, it's going to be awkward. I can see where this is going to go. Is like players are going to say, yeah, but any source, and then you made 4 attacks, so all 4 attacks do no damage. That's not what I want to read. It doesn't need to read like that. That's not how it needs to work. When you take damage from any now this is it's got to be structured as it's whatever the source is or the attack is. When you take damage from any source that is a single attack or spell, you can reduce that that damage to 0. I think that's where it needs to sit. For this to be a thing that you would consider, I think that's how it needs to be structured. Because we don't want it to include any source and then have them arguing about whether it includes all the multiple attacks that they've just suffered from a Hydra or something else. I think that's where we need to consider this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to structure it this way. I'm going to put it in yellow. And moving along. Boon of irresistible offense. You can bypass the damage resistance of any creature. Now, magic weapons do that already. Have anybody noticed right now that a boon of irresistible offense means you can usually supersede damage resistance of every creature? In the monster manual for D&D 5e, almost all monsters have their damage resistance structured around, unless you have a magic weapon or it's silvered, or and if it's a magic weapon, it's already silvered, remember, or it's made of adamantium, and it's usually adamantium or a magic weapon, or it's silvered or it's magical. Okay, so how many features does a monster have where damage resistance comes into play and there's no mention of something like having a magic weapon? And I think if we look through the dungeon the monster manual, we'll find that almost every single thing refers to magical attacks. If it's a non-magical attack, they've got resistance. Otherwise, so this feature here is irrelevant, completely irrelevant. Do you know why? Because all you need is a magic weapon. And, you know, I mean, you're not going to get... it might be useful if you're dealing with spells and the creature has resistance to spells that do some sort of damage type. That may be the time that it will come into play, so you can get past that sort of thing. Would I take this over multi-classing? Again, I don't know that I would. This is a hard one. Because for a melee, I feel like this is designed to be used by a melee or martial class, and yet the martial classes, as soon as they get a magic weapon, they don't need it anymore. And I don't even think most monsters aren't resistant to every single damage type. So when is a spellcaster ever going to look at this and say, okay, this is going to be the time that I'm going to use this feature? I can't think of too many. Because usually most damage resistance is bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. And spellcasters don't have to worry about bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing because their spells don't do that sort of damage normally. It's only the martial classes that are using weapons. Or if you're making weapon attacks. And if you're dealing with fire, acid, cold, well, normally most monsters aren't resistant to every single damage type. In fact, most spellcasters will fall back on something like force damage. Or even acid damage. You usually pick your poison pill. Did they do a better job in the Unearthed Arcana? Again, I don't think they did. Let's have a look here. Energy resistance. So boon of energy resistance. This is this one here. This gives you resistance, but it doesn't overcome resistances. Here we go. There it is. The damage you deal always ignores resistance. Again, I think this is kind of pointless. Does anybody feel differently about it? I don't see this being something people would take. I think that it will never come into play. Just because the way the rules are structured. Again, I think this is a marked for deletion option. I think we get rid of it. It doesn't make any sense. Here we go. Here's another thing that that's interesting. We've got two boons that are very, very similar, and I wanna point them out, but I want to take a break. Boon of Luck. You can add a D10 roll to any ability, attack roll, or saving throw you make. Once you use this boon, you can't use it again until you finish a short rest. Isn't this basically the rogue's ability? Or isn't this basically Bardic Inspiration? Bardic Inspiration at level 20? What is your Bardic Inspiration looking like at level 20? Pretty sure it's going to be at least a D10 by now. Is it not? Or is it just D6s? Let's have a look. Bard. Can a Bard do this at level 20? Bard. Where are you, Bard? Here we go. Bard. So Bardic Inspiration. Okay, here we go. There it is. So Bardic Inspiration listed. You're level 20 and you're a Bard. It's a D6, not a D10. Okay. You can apply it to all the dice rolls I just talked about. And Bardic Inspiration, how else? Is there anything else that I need to consider? Well, at level 15, you get a D12, not a D10. At level 10 as a Bard, you get a D... So this is basically the poor man's Bardic Inspiration for a level 20 character. And this looks so similar to the other feature above. You see this one here? Boon of Fate. When another creature that you can see within 60 feet, if you make an ability check or an attack roll, a saving throw, you can roll a D10 and apply the result as a bonus or penalty to the roll. So it's slightly different, but how different is it? This is just add. This Boon of Luck and this Boon of Fate are so similar, and they're just a dice roll. You can add or subtract. Add or subtract. A D10 roll from any ability check, attack roll, or saving throw you make. So it's only applying to yourself, not to somebody else. Whereas Boon of Fate can be applied to somebody else. You can apply it to a different creature. So why differentiate it? Does anybody remember silvery barbs? And that was advantage. Now this is a D10. I think a D10, rolling a D10 is definitely better than having advantage. On average, you got a 5.5 chance. We'll get your average roll is going to be 5.5, which is better than the 5 average that apparently advantage would do. And disadvantage is -5. So, so I feel like this feature could easily be folded into the Boon of Luck if it was going to be retained at all. So this almost immediately makes me think like we just should delete it. Boon of Luck and Boon of Fate. What do they do with these? Do they do anything? No, don't see that there. Boon of Luck. They retain Boon of Luck. Boon of Fate. Does anybody see Boon of Fate? I don't see Boon of Fate anywhere. Now maybe they will include it and it wasn't in the Unearthed Arcana. But I think they removed Boon of Fate because they realized that Boon of Luck was doing all of the hard lifting anyway. Immediately after you roll a d20 for a, so you can roll it and add a number of rolls. Just once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you. So after you roll a d20 for a d20 roll, once you use this benefit, you can't use it again. So they got rid of the Boon of Fate. They got rid of this completely. I think we mark this for deletion as well. I think, oops, wrong one. Undo. It's the Boon of Fate, not the Boon of Fortitude. I think this is definitely not yellow. This is red. This is kind of pointless. Okay. Let's move on. I'm going to put this into sort of a, what are you going to do? I'll put this in yellow. And which means basically it means that we've got to do something with it that would actually make it a bit more useful. Being able to add or subtract a D10 to any ability check, but you can't use it again until you finish a short rest, is, again, short rest mechanics, don't like them. If we're going to include anything, I think it should be around a battle. Ability checks, attack rolls, saving throws, I still think like, let's just get rid of that bit there. And if I go up and I find, this is how I would structure it. If you're going to really think about it and you don't want them to keep using it over and over again, which I totally get, I think that's how it would have to be structured. But again, I still don't like it that much. I am not convinced that I would take this over multi-classing. 1 dice roll, add a d10. Or would I go with advantage? There are so many ways to get advantage on an ability check, an attack roll. You use the help action. So ability checks, help action. That's outside of a battle, you're definitely going to do that. Inside of a battle, it's going to use your action. Okay, understood. Then attack rolls, you can do that inside in a battle. Getting advantage in a battle. Help action is just one of many ways you can get advantage, not just inspiration if you're using inspiration. Saving throws, same thing, inspiration. It's much harder to get advantage or apply disadvantage to a saving throw. I think if we're going to add or subtract a d20, we need to include that you make or another creature does, that you can see. Makes that you can see. I don't think the range is important as long as you can see them if you want to affect their boon. I guess the only thing I would have to say is I like the idea that it only applies to, let's see, just you. So you're not affecting somebody else. There's something to be said for that, I would say. I'd say there's definitely something to be said for including it that way. But what about if you're a halfling? If you're a halfling in 5e, how much of a benefit is this? It's only a 0.5 increase over advantage. So advantage is pretty equivalent to this. Although I'd still say rolling a d10 is better than having advantage. What if you are a halfling though? Because don't you have luck things? Being a halfling, doesn't that give you some benefits? I'm sure it does. Halfling nimbleness. Lucky. When you roll a 1 on a d20 for any attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll that die and must use the new roll. Okay, so it's only for rolling a 1. Well, it's an interesting concept. So depending on how you run your rules, I guess it is better. It's still, I don't like it. Let's keep going. Boon of magic resistance. You have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. That's actually that boon there, I think, is a level 20 feature. That's a level 20 feature. Getting advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects is a level 20 feature. It's one of the few ones that we've come across that I actually think is probably fine as it is. Let's have a look. What do they do with this? Do they include magic resistance? Would you take it, though, over multi-classing? I don't know that you will. But it's definitely a level 20 feature, in my opinion. I would retain it. Getting advantage on that is a good thing. You have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. This is like your legendary monsters, you know, or some other creatures that come into play. So I'm actually fine with that. Does anybody have issues with magic resistance? I think magic resistance is actually not too bad. I actually think that's pretty good. And it's magic spells and magical effects. So at level 20, having that ability, is there anybody else who gets something like this somewhere else that would be below level 20? Is there something else in D&D 5e that I'm not thinking about outside of the monsters that have it, that where this would actually might come into play, that would sort of supersede it and then make it not really a level 20 feature? I actually think it's pretty good. Okay, I need to take a break, but I want to put forward another one here before I move on. We're going to come back to Boon of Peerless Aim, because I don't like Boon of Peerless Aim, but there's so many here. This is one boon that I think is actually decent. Boon of True Sight. You have True Sight out to a range of 60 feet. That's a level 20 feature. True Sight is a big deal. If you've ever seen how True Sight works, True Sight at level 20 to 60 feet is certainly far superior to dark vision, and you can see through so many different things. If we have a look at how True Sight works in the monster manual, this is why I actually marked it and left it, because it was one of those things I was like, this is actually a level 20 feature, and it's not a combat feature really. So this is what True Sight says. With True Sight, you can, out to a specific range, see in normal and magical darkness. Okay? See invisible creatures. So that means you can see invisible creatures out to 60 feet. That's good. All the time. And objects that are invisible. Automatically detect visual illusions. So that means that visual illusions will not hamper you. And succeed on saving throws against them. So in other words, illusion magic is not going to work against you. That's pretty strong. And perceive the original form of a shape changer. So that means somebody who changes shape. Or a creature that has transformed by magic. So if there's some sort of shape changer or creature that transforms by magic, you can see through that. Furthermore, the monster, it says the monster, but in this case we're not dealing with a monster. Furthermore, you can see into the ethereal plane within the same range. This is one feature which is actually good for a level 20 player. This feature here should stay, I think. That's my opinion. So I'm gonna leave that there as a Yes, I think that's definitely the way to go. I'm going to leave that there. So we're going to come back and have a look at some of these other ones, but I need to take a quick break, toilet break, and look at some of these other bits and pieces here. Boon of Peerless Aim. So I'm going to ask you some questions around Boon of Peerless Aim. You let me know what you think about them, and then I'll come back and we'll go from there. So I want your opinion on Boon of Peerless Aim. Hashtag, what do you think of Boon of Peerless Aim? That's what the chat's there for. I will go take a quick break. I will be back. We'll continue. I have to write some completely new boons as well. The way we're going, we may take another hour and should be done. We'll see. 5 minutes or less. I'll be back. Hello, I'm back. And for those of you who are wondering, I do some of my best thinking on the toilet as it happens, so it's really weird. So I just had an epiphany for one of these things that we've been working on. And that is, let's have a look and see if I can just get myself back to where I was. We were talking about the Boon of Peerless Aim. I was asking you a question. But it occurred to me when I was looking at the Boon of Peerless Aim that there's something else that we need to consider here, and that is the Boon of Combat Prowls. So if we're looking at the Boon of Peerless Aim, what is it trying to do? You can give yourself a plus 20 bonus to a ranged attack roll you make. Once you use this boon, you can't use it again until you finish a short rest. So in other words, their intention is to ensure that you can do this once per battle. It's a combat feature, and as I said before, I believe that combat features at level 20 are mostly pointless. You know, they really don't do very much. So being able to go from missing to hitting when the chance of you missing is probably about 5 to 10% of the time at level 20. Whether you're making a long-ranged attack, you know, with a bow or a long bow or something like that, or you're using a sword up close, you really got maybe a 5-10% chance of missing. So being able to go from a miss to a hit is not a big deal. It's really not a big selling factor. But being able to go from missing or hitting to a critical hit, that's a different story. And particularly if you include missing as well. Did they actually do anything with this in Unearthed Arcana that was any good? I think that Boon of Peerless Aim should be folded into the combat prowls. I think we should include ranged attacks as well, not just melee attacks. That's what I would do. And I would change it that you don't hit if you miss, but you do a critical hit, which means you do double the damage dice. That's a good thing. That's much more, and if you can do that once per battle, would that be a selling point for me to be able to guarantee that I get a critical hit on an attack that I make that either misses or hits? If it did both, when I only have a 5 to 10% chance of missing, it'll cover that 5 to 10% chance of missing, yes, but being able to guarantee that I get my hit into a critical, that might sell it for me for once per battle. Most battles are only between 1 and 3 rounds. And if you're going longer, maybe it's a boss battle. But generally, that's actually pretty useful. And as a marshal, you've probably got a lot of attacks. So the opportunity should crop up. I think that might be more of a selling point. Hello, Pale Rider. How are you? Good to see you, Fred. Stay hydrated. I'm doing my very best. So let's do this. Let's have a look at what they did with Peerless Aim. And then I'm going to fold Peerless Aim into combat prowls. And I'm going to beef that up a little bit to actually make it worthwhile. Combat prowls should include ranged attacks as well, I think. And we should twist it a little bit. Give it a bit of a twist. What do they do? Boon of Peerless Aim, you can make a ranged attack against a target in range and miss. Okay, so hang on. If you make a ranged attack against a target in range and miss, you can cause the attack to hit instead. So in other words, they got rid of the plus 20 and they said you just hit, which makes a lot more sense. Once you use this, so this is what really they want you to use it once per battle, and that's it. And they said you can't use it again until you roll initiative. The problem is, what if you have a way of? I mean, this is based on the core rules as raw. I think we can get rid of Peerless Aim. I think we ditch it. Let's fold it into the other one. Combat and Peerless Aim are essentially the same thing. Let's drop that nonsense. Let's get rid of it completely. I'm not even going to go in red. I'm literally going to just delete it. Because there isn't no point in keeping it. And let's go up, and bingo, right, here we go. When you miss with a let's go here, when you miss or hit with a melee or ranged, now it says weapon attack. I'm going to get rid of weapon attack. This means that we can use unarmed strikes with this as well. And ranged attacks. When you hit or miss with a melee or ranged attack, you can choose to hit. You can choose to hit. You can choose to make a critical hit. Does that make more sense? You can only use this boon once per battle. Now, that was orange, and in other words, I was ready to get rid of it completely. I would say this is now yellow. I think that's much better. Maybe the wording isn't right. Maybe it's not as clean as it could be. But my general feeling is we've actually turned it into a feature which it's much more of a selling point now. When you miss or hit with a melee or ranged attack, you can choose to make a critical hit. That means melee weapons, unarmed strikes, that means ranged attacks. Do I need to include melee? Do I need to include the word unarmed strikes as well? To hit with a melee. No, it should be fine. You let me know if the wording isn't going to be exact enough, but I think that's pretty close to where we need to be. That means that you get to pick the time that you do your critical hit, whether you miss or you hit. And it means that 5 to 10% chance that you had of missing can be, now you get rid of it by when you make a melee or ranged attack. I think that's actually much, much better. Did I just allow spellcasters to attack as well? Well, okay. Is that a problem? Is being able to have a critical hit actually a problem? I'm just thinking about it now. What spells, Fred Huber, when a spellcaster makes an attack roll and they miss or they hit, would be really bad to be a critical? What spell can you think of that would be a problem? Where it's not going to apply to Fireball because that's a saving throw. So what spell is it that would now be an issue? Can anybody think of one that would be a problem? I'm trying to think of one and I can't think of anything. They would have to be really high level spells. But again, I don't even know that they're going to be pumping out that much damage. Most single target spells that spellcasters put out are not nearly as good as what a martial class can do. But yeah, Fred, thank you for pointing that out. We'll put it's still in yellow, so it's still a note. Boon of Luck, Fate. I think it's time to delete that little sucker. The Fortitude thing, I think. The Fortitude, no, the Boon, the Fate one, I think is. I really don't like it. I think it should go. And actually, I'm going to just delete it. I don't think there's much point keeping up with that one. We're just going to go and again, this aging thing, Boon of Immortality. I don't know what else you would put here. How else would you word it so it would work and be effective? Blade of Disaster. Where is Blade of Disaster? Is there a spell called Blade of Disaster, people? Can't say it would be a problem. I don't think it would be a problem myself. I'm actually fine with it being that way. Let's see. Is there a spell? If I go to spells, Shy X has said Blade of Disaster. I don't know what Blade of Disaster is. Blade of Disaster. Do we have it? Blade of Disaster? Doesn't exist, does it? Oh, there we go. Blade of Disaster. It's a level 9 spell. It's a very high level spell. Okay, so what does this thing do? I don't even know if I've got access to it. I do. Okay, which book's it in? Rime of the Frost Maiden. Thank you very much to my anonymous supporter who's allowed me access to this. I do appreciate that. Okay, so how much damage does it do? You create a blade-shaped planar rift about 3 feet long in an unoccupied space you can see within range. The blade lasts for the duration. When you cast a spell, you can make up to 2 melee spell attacks with the blade. Each one against a creature, loose object or structure within 5 feet of the blade. On a hit, the target takes 4d12 force damage. That ain't very much. Okay. This attack scores a critical hit if the number on the d20 is 18 or higher. Okay, we haven't really changed that. On a critical hit, the blade deals an extra D8 12 force damage, extra D8 force damage for a total of 12. I see. Okay, all right. So I can see where it would interplay with that spell. That's actually not a. The dream's gone. Hello, how are you? So, okay, I can see your point, Shy X. I can see why the concept of making a weapon attack is probably important for just this one spell. It's not going to come up very often, but you are at level 20, and if you're at level 20, you could potentially have access to the spell. You can be a sorcerer, a wizard, or a warlock, so that's 3 different classes that have access to it. So you make a good point. Okay, so let's go back and let's have a look at that. This thing. When you miss or hit with a melee with a unarmed strike, melee or ranged weapon attack, you can choose to make a critical hit. You can only use this bonus once per battle. Okay, well that now eliminates the spellcasters and that one spell, Blade of Disaster. Even Witch Bolt? You reckon Witch Bolt would be a problem? I mean, I'm not worried about Witch Bolt, but at level 20, are you casting Witch Bolt? Let's have a look at Witch Bolt. I don't know that I'd be concerned. I can see your point with this, because really the conditions for it is only if you roll a 18, 19, or 20, and it will become a critical hit, and then of course you do this stupendous amount of damage. 12d12 force damage is pretty good. Is it comparable to something like the Rogue? I almost feel like the Rogue can almost do that at level 20 easily. They're probably on par with this. A Rogue is probably on par with the spell at level 20, and it's not a. They don't get to do that once. They get to do that every single round. Every round the Rogue gets to do this. So it's probably only on if you use this once. Because remember, it's 20d6. 20d6, slightly less than 12d6, but that's just the sneak attack damage, right? Then you add in the damage from their weapon, which is going to probably be a d6. Probably they're using a short sword. It'll be a light finessey weapon or something like that, or maybe it's a d8. Really doesn't matter. Whatever modifier they add to that, it's really only comparable. I don't even know if it's worth worrying about. Even Blade of Disaster doesn't do anywhere near as much damage. Am I doing my maths wrong? I'm pretty sure my maths is correct. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the blade up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see, and then make up to 2 melee weapon attacks with it. It's not like just because this gives you 2 melee spell attacks, it doesn't mean you're going to get 2 critical hits using the boon that I've put in here. Remember, it is only for an attack. It's so it's only supposed to be designed for one. When you miss or hit with a single unarmed strike, melee or ranged weapon attack, you can choose to make a critical hit. So it's not like all of your attacks are going to be included. So I'm not even sure that the weapon attack thing is a big deal, but of course not everybody is a rogue. I mean, if you're playing a rogue, of course that's going to be a bit different. Even Witch Bolt, you reckon? Witch Bolt. Let's have a look at Witch Bolt. At level 20 is, I mean, this is the spell I'm not that familiar with, so Witch Bolt. Witch Bolt. Let's have a look at Witch Bolt. Is it going to come up? Come on, Witch Bolt. Here we go. Here it is. Witch Bolt. Bum, bum, bum. So here it is. It's only a level 1 spell, so I just don't see that you're going to be worrying about Witch Bolt at level 1. A level 1 spell, and you make a critical with it. What's the big deal? Let's have a look. A beam of crackling blue energy lances out towards a creature within range, forming a sustained arc of lightning between you and the target. Make a ranged spell attack against the creature. On a hit, the target takes 1d12 lightning damage, and on each of its turns for the duration, you can use your action to deal. So that means, if you go from, Witch Bolt would be, instead of 1d12 damage that you do, it could be pushed up to a 9th level spell and be doing 9d12. Even 9d12 is not even online and really as bad as the likes of a rogue, who, if they were to get a critical hit with sneak attack, is going to be just butt crazy. But it does mean we have just made that feature quite a lot more desirable to a spellcaster. And spellcasters get a lot already. I can see your point there. Hello, Phil. How are you? I really wouldn't worry about Witch Bolt, frankly. Witch Bolt does not strike me as being a big issue. Particularly when you think about how many dice you get as a rogue. But I think this is better. I think this, as combat prowess, as a level 20 feature, I think that's better as it is. Whether I take out the weapon thing or not and allow spellcasters to use it is another story. Okay, let's keep going down. But I like the idea that a boon might be useful. Here's the problem is this the boon that everybody will take and nothing else? Because it does really a lot of damage. I guess that's the question. Okay, let's keep going. Moving on. We are on Boon of Perfect Health. You are immune to all diseases and poisons, and you have advantage on Constitution saving throws. I'm actually not... I don't think that's a bad feature, but here's the problem. How often do you get diseased? Now, poison comes up a lot, okay? But is that a selling point to... Would you choose multi-classing, or would you choose to have this particular boon at level 20? Is that the thing that you would you go for? Because at level 20, I mean, if you even if you're using multi-classing, boons, even if they're not tied in to the level 20 cap like I do, and you're assigning boons at level 20 after level 20, you could still pick this up. I almost feel like this is like a is this basically the Paladin's feature? 18d12. Yeah, 18d12. I mean, yeah, but here's my point. This is what I was trying to point out is, if the combat prowess, you think about a rogue. Think about a rogue and they make a single blow. Okay, where's the rogue? The rogue is a hard hitter, does a single target, does a lot of damage. They get 10d. You sold me on that. Yeah, I don't really like this feature very much. Immune to diseases and poisons. It feels like a paladin feature. A low-level paladin feature. It's not really doing very much. Not for level 20 if you're having an epic boon. So what have we got here? Lay on hands. What other features do they get that sort of make them, sort of can protect them in some way? Divine Sense. Here we go. So alternatively, you can spend 5 hit points from your pool of healing to cure a target of 1 disease or neutralize 1 poison affecting it. This is literally a level 1 paladin feature. You can cure multiple diseases and neutralize multiple poisons within a single use of Lay on Hands, expending hit points separately for each one. So the problem is it's not good enough. Even advantage on Constitution saving throws. I don't think it's going to be good enough. Not if you want it to do this. If you really want this to be a level 20 feature, and I think it can be done. I think we can turn that into a level 20 feature, but we've got to tank it up a little bit, because right now the paladin can do that to any of the other players at level 1 or to themselves. They don't get advantage on a Constitution saving throw, but is that really going to matter? Because they've got that ridiculous aura thing going on. So I'm not really that sold on this idea. There is something else we could do with this that I think would make it far better though, and actually more likely to be used by people at level 20. So let's have a look at the spells, and I believe, is it lesser restoration or greater restoration? I think it's one or the other. I think that's where we need to go with this. So let's go here, lesser. 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 Here we go. Lesser restoration. You touch one creature and can end either one disease or one condition affecting it. The condition can be blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. So far, the only thing we have excluded is blinded, deafened, and paralyzed. Poisoned and disease have been eliminated with this perfect health. Blinded. How often does blinded come up? Not a lot. If we added blinded, it would be better, but it doesn't come up there. Deafened doesn't come up that often either. Paralyzed is a big deal though. There are a lot of monsters that just would not be able to deal with, you know, like ghouls. They're a low-level creature, and they can still potentially, well, I mean, even a low-level, theoretically, a ghoul or a ghast can paralyze you, sure. But will it actually do so with the very low DC required for it? Probably not unless you roll super low like a 1. So we might be able to include blinded, deafened, paralyzed. What about greater restoration? I'm kind of curious what greater restoration would do. Greater invisibility, greater restoration. Here we go. You imbue a creature. Shy X, I was tempted to put down all conditions, but the problem is it can't be all conditions. The problem with all conditions is there's a few that probably wouldn't make sense. Now, petrified includes, so greater restoration, you imbue a creature you touch with positive energy. This is a 5th level spell, remember. Lesser restoration is only a 2nd level spell. One effect that charmed or petrified the target. One curse, including the target's attunement to a cursed magic item, and any reduction to one of the target's ability scores. And we're not going to do that. One effect, reducing the target's hit point maximum. This is what I'm going to do. I think we're going. I think this definitely is a little crazy, but just bear with me. Let's see how this looks when we write it in, and then you guys can tell me if it's too much. Because right now it's not good enough. So let's go with, we've got disease, we've got poisoned, let's include blinded, let's include deafened, let's include this, and let's include paralyzed. And poisons, and you have advantage on Constitution saving throws. Okay, so now that we've included that, if I were to add anything out, petrified, charmed, do I want to include petrified and charmed? Let's put it in and see how it looks. Perfect health. I don't know that charmed is the one I want to include. The reason being is poison, disease, deafened is Charmed a health thing. Perfect health. I don't think it's about health. So I think Charmed should be off the cards. Petrified. Petrified is something else. I'm inclined to think maybe... Petrified. Petrified. Does that make sense? Petrified. Now you can't be petrified. We're talking about a Medusa. Would have no effect on you. Beyond level 20. 20 and above. Being petrified. I've got to think about that a bit more. I've got to think about that a little bit more. Next one. Cursed. No, I think cursed is magical. It's not health. I think these are the ones. I think that would that be enough to sell you on the idea of taking perfect health, the boon of perfect health? That's the question. Boon of perfect health. Well, let's have a look and see what the Unearthed Arcana did with boon of perfect health. I don't even think it even exists. I think they took it out. Boon of recovery. Not bothering with that. Boon of... It just doesn't even exist. They just took it off the cards. I'm going to put it in yellow. Okay, I want you to guys have a think about it. There are things that I have not considered. Is it good enough for a level 20 feature? I'm inclined to think that it's a lot better. I think the biggest weight is paralyzed and poisoned. Diseases don't come up that often. Deafened and blind could be useful, but it's circumstantial. I'm not against including petrified, but I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit more. Okay, so let's keep going and see what else we can do here. We've done the dimensional travel. Boon of quick casting. Choose one of your spells of 1st through to 3rd level that has a casting time of 1 action. The spell's casting time is now 1 bonus action for you. No, I'm going to just delete that. You know how I feel about bonus actions. I always feel like that's... So what we've essentially done is let's piss all over the sorcerer. This is a sorcerer feature. This is a low-level sorcerer feature that we're now going to make available to anybody who isn't a sorcerer, essentially. I think quick casting is a really bad idea. I'm going to mark that in red. Red usually means I'm going to delete it. Okay? Did they do anything with it with quick casting? I suspect that it's definitely a selling point, I guess. But again, it just steps on the toes of the sorcerer so much. Perfect health, perhaps. Hang on, what do you got here, Fred? Phil? I'm kind of curious as to see what you've said here. Perfect. Perhaps when you are affected by blindness, deafness, and poison, the condition automatically ends at the end of your turn. You reckon paralysis is too much? I'm assuming you believe that paralysis has gone too far. I'll think about it. If anybody else wants to weigh in, by all means do so. Boon of quick casting, I think, should just be... I'm just thinking about whether I want to stay with this too much or whether I want to just reduce it and just ditch it completely. I think the reason to get rid of it is because it just messes with the sorcerer too much. It makes the sorcerer less of what it's trying to do in the first place, which is actually being able to use that meta magic. And being able to quickly cast 1st and 2nd and 3rd level spells. How big of a thing is that? Is that really a selling point for level 20? That you're only going to be casting 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level spells at level 20, and now it's a bonus action. But it doesn't change the fact that if you do that, your main action is going to have to be a cantrip. So you get to cast a cantrip and a 1st or a 2nd or a 3rd level spell at level 20 as an epic boon, a level 20 feature upward. How good is that? It's pretty shite. Even with cantrips scaling, it's still pretty shite. Okay, I'll leave it in red for now, but I'm very tempted to just ditch it and just make it not a thing. Because I don't like it. The aging thing, I just don't know how to fix this aging thing. Boon of Immortality. It's never going to come into play. Never going to come into play. Alright, let's there. Okay, we've got a few reds. Okay, keep going. Boon of Recovery. You can use a bonus action, God, to regain a number of hit points equal to half your hit point maximum. Once you use this boon, you can't do it until you finish a long rest. So in other words, they only want you to be able to do it once a day. Did they do anything with Boon of Recovery before? I think they did. Boon of Recovery, I think, did show up here. Here we go. Uses a bonus action to regain hit points to half your... once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. In addition, you succeed on every death saving throw that isn't a roll of 1. Boon of Recovery. Well, I don't like the bonus action thing. It's probably not good enough, really, as it is. Is that enough? I mean, essentially, you take a short rest and you're going to get most of your hit points back anyway. Aren't you? I would say that's probably the case. I think Boon of Recovery is sort of... It's made obsolete by a short rest mechanic. I mean, I guess you save your hit dice so you don't have to use them. But I mean, most people are just going to take a long rest when they run out of hit dice anyway. If they don't have enough hit points and they run out of hit dice, they're just going to take a long rest anyway. So I don't really like that feature either. I really don't like it. Petrified Paralysis, being immune to it, I think... hang on, here we go. What do you got here, Phil? Petrified Paralysis, being immune to it, I think, is too far until you set a cadence for power overall. You can always turn things up, but dialing back is tough. Yeah, but I've got to... So, Phil, this is a first draft. I've got to put it in front of my players to see if it's going to crack. And so my general feeling is that... even paralysis doesn't come up that often. What creatures paralyze you? I haven't put in petrified, I've just put paralysis. Ghouls and ghasts. Most of the time, high level, 20 level characters never going to get paralyzed by a ghoul or ghast. It just doesn't happen. Because the DC is so pitiful. Unless you make modifications. Carrion crawler, paralysis. Probably not going to come into play. I don't know that it's really a big deal. Not at level 20. Not at level 20. Boon of Recovery. It's just a second level spell though, and you're a level 20 character. I guess Hold Person. Do we really want a second level spell, Hold Person, to be enough to stop this feature? I don't know that we do. I think you'd have to use something a bit more powerful. That's why I said paralysis. It's just not an issue. I don't think it's a factor. Anyway, let's keep going. This feature here, I'm really not too sure about. I'm not sold on it. I know that the thing they've put in here is definitely an improvement. But I don't want Epic Boons to turn the level 20 character into a character that can never actually die, because death at level 20 is just a temporary issue. It's really just a speed bump, generally, unless the Game Master does something with it. I know my way. I think it's... Would you take this? Would you take this? If this was an option for you, is it really a big selling point? I really don't know. Okay, I'm going to mark this. I'm going to mark this in orange. I feel my instinct tells me to delete it, that it's a waste of time, and I don't know how to fix it. Boon of Recovery, because I don't want it to say you can't die. You don't have to make death dying saves. There is a magic item that does that, right? Where you stabilize automatically and you don't have to make death dying saves. But I'm just not too sure I want it to be that, because it wouldn't be called Boon of Recovery anymore. Or yeah, okay, I'm not too sure what to do with this. Boon of Resilience. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons at level 20. So what they've done is they've given you some of the monsters' features. Did Boon of Resilience actually come into... So a Barbarian has essentially this, but it's better. The Barbarian's feature is better than this. Now, other classes don't have any access to this whatsoever. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Did they do anything to that in the past that needs to be ported over? It didn't even make it on. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. If I was going to structure this, that's what I would do. But again, it's another level 20 combat feature. Level 20, I keep saying, level 20 combat's not... They've got so many combat features here, and they just don't have anything else that's really cool. I don't like the non-magical thing at all. Do you know what I mean? I think that's not a selling point thing, something that to consider removing. So, because if it was me, I would just... Game Master's probably just going to give their monsters magical items. And the players are going to probably figure that's what's going to happen anyway. But if you just have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which is how most monsters who do have... If you have a monster with resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, magic weapons should not be able to overcome that. Magic weapons just have a better chance to hit and do a little bit more damage. That's it. The only thing a magic weapon should be able to do is get through damage immunity. That's what a magic weapon should be able to do, is get through damage immunity, not damage resistance. That's what we'll do. That's how I'm going to write it. That's a level 20 feature. And that will get used a lot. It is a combat feature, which again I'm not a fan of, but that's definitely an improvement. I'm going to leave it in yellow for now, but I'm not against that. Am I against that? No. No, I think that's a level 20 feature. Can anybody tell me otherwise? Do you think that the way it's written is not suitable for a level 20 character? I think that's fine. It's really just duplicating what the Barbarian does at low level and their rage. Really, that's what it's doing. It is, let's get real. It's pissing all over the Barbarian, the bear totem Barbarian, to a large extent. But more the rage feature of the Barbarian. That's what it's really doing. It's kind of stepping on its toes. So there's yeah, okay, I'll leave it in yellow. And it is yet more combat stuff, and I'm not sure that that's the selling point for level 20. You think it's good for level 20? I think it is too, eh? I think that, and getting rid of the non-magical weapon stuff, and you just get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. The more I think about it, the more I think it's fine. So I'm actually going to retain that. We're going to retain it. We're going to say that's it. That's good enough for now. X-Tech, hello. Don't mind annoying barbarians. I don't mind annoying barbarians. Fair enough. But it kind of makes sense at level 20. It does. It does make sense at level 20. It really does. The more I think about it. Okay, next thing. Let's keep going. And they removed it as a feature. I think that's more of a selling point. I would take that at level 20. If I had the option, I would pick that up. That's something that I would be interested in. Boon of Skill Proficiency. I actually like this a lot. I know it's not going to be that it's not going to be hugely popular because suddenly you're proficient in all skills. But if you're going to have a skill system and you're going to be incorporating into your game, suddenly to have proficiency and training in all skills as a level 20 feature. It's not really combat, but it does a lot of other things, and it's not a guarantee, but it's still pretty good. I actually really like it. It's one of my favorite of the boons. And it's funny how this one, I think it survived. I survived the Unearthed Arcana. Did it actually make it in here? Yeah. You gain all proficiencies in all skills. You gain proficiency in all skills. I actually think it's fine the way it is. Yes, we're getting on to Boon of Speed. Boon of Speed, we already have a built for a mech monk nearby. Nice, nice. Let's have a look at Boon of Speed. Boon of your walking speed is increased by 30 feet. Now, that's nothing to sneeze at, but is that really what you want at level 20? Yes, I would say it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Your walking speed increasing by 30 feet is a big deal. That affects your dashing. It's going to affect your disengaging. It's going to affect mobility big time. So Boon of Speed, that part of it is pretty good. Hello, Nacho Man. Nacho Man is also a patron, just like Fred Huber. Thank you for being here. So let's have a think about this next bit. In addition, you can use a bonus action to take the dash or disengage action. Once you do so, you can't do so again until you finish a short rest. I don't like this feature, but this bit here I don't like. But the Boon of Speed with just 30 feet of movement is not enough. It would have to have something else. Boon of Speed was just adjusted to 30 feet and they got rid of the additional bit. This dash and disengage thing. I don't like the bonus action aspect of it, but I do like the dash and disengage concept. I don't know this is going to be popular, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. In addition, you can dash or disengage. Okay. In addition, when you move, you can include the dash or disengage action for free. That's it. That means you can move around the battlefield very quickly and you can get out of trouble real quickly. Once you do so, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. I think that's it. I'm happy for them to do that every single round. Dash and disengage, dash and disengage, dash and disengage. Maybe not dodge, but dash and disengage. Why not? I'm going to leave that there. That's stronger than what Wizards of the Coast put in. Is that enough, though? Now that I think about it, I'm trying to think about it. Is that really enough? Are you really going to do this? I think the disengage action for, as part of your movement for free is, and 30 feet of movement is definitely it's definitely better. Okay, I think now Fred Huber's just put something in here. Now what have you done here? Boon of Speed doesn't finally allow retreat. Hold on, what is this? Here we go. Boon of Speed doesn't finally allow retreat to work. Does finally allow retreat to work. Yes. That's what I was thinking. I just don't want to use the bonus action. Now, normally it's not a bonus action to dash or disengage, so we're not like we're giving them anything else. I have taken out the bonus action for dash and disengage for cunning action with a rogue. Now, that won't interplay very well with your standard class, but really none of these boons are designed primarily to be used with the standard classes. They would be designed to be used with the classes as I've written them. So I think this is better. I actually like this better. You can get across the battlefield really quick. So if you've got 30 feet of movement, you now have 60 feet of movement. If you need dash, you can move another 60 feet. So you can move up to 120 feet if you dashed with this. And you still got an attack at the other end. So you move 120 feet potentially, and then you make an attack. Or you disengage. Just trying to think about this. Or you disengage and you can move 60 feet. If you had a standard speed of 30 feet and you get another 30 feet, that's 60 feet. So you disengage with 60 feet. You can actually escape potentially. Because now you can take the dash action and move 60 feet. And you're clear. You're clear of the battle, quite with a little bit of room. I think it's fine. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to make any adjustments. I actually think that's going to work. You can actually escape from the battlefield now with this thing. Cool. Boon of Spell Mastery. How are we doing for time? I am now on the 2-hour mark. I kind of knew this was going to take me a little bit longer than I was hoping. And there are a lot of these things. Maybe I will just keep going. Boon of Spell Mastery. Choose one first level sorcery, wizard, warlock, or wizard spell that you can cast. You can now cast that spell at its lowest level without expending a spell. Oh, God. Seriously? I'm not even going to mark that. And that's what. Do they even retain it in the Unearthed Arcana? Spell Mastery. Spell Mastery. I don't see it. Where are you? Spell Mastery. I think they took it off the cards. I don't even think they even put it forward. I think they decided that is such a piss poor weak feature. The Mark 1 monk will move close to 300. I don't mind. I can live with that. If anything, that makes more sense for an epic level monk anyway. The Boon of Spell Mastery is shite. Who's ever going to take it? Choose one first level sorcery, warlock, or wizard spell that you can cast. You can now cast that spell at its lowest level without expending a spell slot. How does that make any sense? So in other words, now you have a spell that you can keep pumping out and you'll never use up a first level spell slot. Okay, so you've got an infinite, so you've turned a level 1 spell that's a sorcery, warlock, or wizard spell into a cantrip, essentially. I don't like it that much. I don't know that that's a selling point for me. I don't really see that turning a first level at level 20, you don't use your first level spell slots that much. You really don't. It's not even good as a feat. Yeah. No. I don't even think we need it. I think we ditch it. It's that bad. It's not really a feat. It's not even a level 20 epic boon. Yeah. I don't know how to fix it either. It's gone. It's gone. All right. There's a few things here that I wanted to eliminate before. Quick casting. I'm getting rid of it. I'm getting rid of the quick casting thing. It's going. We don't need that. It's gone. For those of you who are thinking, Fred, what's happening to all of the spellcasters' epic boons? Calm down. Boon of High Magic. I don't like it either. The aging thing, Boon of Immortality. what a waste of time. No, it's never going to come in. Nobody's ever going to take it. It's just, I mean, flavor-wise, I suppose you could say it's something, but it's not even transferred over to this. I think it's a pointless one. Boon of Irresistible Offense, bypassing resistance. Unless you change all the monsters in the monster manual, you're just going to have a magic weapon, and you'll be fine. It's never going to come up here. It's going. I'm getting rid of it. Yep, it's gone. Go. See you later. Bye-bye. You're gone. Next. Boon of High Level Magic. I'm still not too sure about that. Let's going to keep going. Boon of Recovery. I don't know about that one. Okay. Boon of Spell Recall. You can cast any spell you know or have prepared without expending a spell slot. What? Once you do so, you can't do so until you finish a long rest. They've got a lot of let's make our spells a little bit better sort of thing going on here. But again, I don't know that I even like this one. Boon of Spell Recall. I like playing wizards. You can cast any spell you know or have prepared. Okay, so I don't have to prepare it as long as I know it without expending a spell slot. So I could pump out a 9th level spell. Once you do so, you can't use this boon again until you finish. This really duplicates the other one, the spell recall thing. And it's more versatile than the high magic one. So that just tells me I should have deleted that earlier. It's gone. I don't even think the high magic one survived. Did high magic even survive the? I don't think it did. I think they removed it. And okay, let's go back over here. So let's look at this. Really unsure about that. My temptation is just to remove it. I don't think it's worthwhile worrying about. Boon of Fire Soul. You have immunity to fire damage. You can also cast Burning Hands. You know, Boon of Fire Soul is on the right track, but I don't like the way it's structured. Oh, you have to have it prepared? Okay. Magic Initiate. Look it up for how bad that boon was. Yeah, no, I do get it. Yeah. Spell you know or have prepared. You can cast any spell you know or have prepared. It doesn't say and, it says or. You know or have prepared. Spell recall is it goes either way. So I feel like, yeah, I just don't like that thing. I just don't know that it's a selling point for me. Would you take that as a level 20 feature? I would think of all the other things that I could potentially take, and it's not the one that I would take. It isn't. Okay, here we go. Boon of Fire Soul. You can also cast Burning Hands at will without using a spell slot or any components. I don't like this for a couple of different reasons. It didn't make it to the Unearthed Arcana, which is not necessarily an indication that they know what they're doing. They did include energy resistance as a level 20 sort of thing. Like you can pick energy types and so forth. No, am I still incorrect about that? Well, reading it, it looks to me like I am correct, but I'm not going to worry about it because I'm probably going to delete it anyway. I think damage immunity, immunity to fire damage, I would prefer to select a damage type to be immune to. As a level 20 feature, being able to select a damage type that I can be completely immune to would be far more interesting and useful to me. How often will it come into play? Well, if I pick fire, then fire is definitely one of those things. It's interesting, though, that we haven't got anything else. And it never made its way back over to here. So maybe my assessment of having damage immunity. The reason I say I think this is useful is if you travel to a different plane of existence outside of the material plane where you can't survive, like the fire plane of fire, or another plane of existence where you could not survive, it does sort of make it possible for you to keep going. I mean, no, that wouldn't take that boon. Oh, I see. You wouldn't take that boon. I kind of figured so. I wouldn't take it either. This is why I put it in orange. But if I change this to damage immunity, boon of energy immunity. They have different now. Maybe it's not going to be damage immunity. Maybe it's going to be something else. I'm just trying to think about how to structure this, because they've got boon of energy resistance, and then they've got a bunch of different energies, and you pick one, and that's just resistance. But I wouldn't bother with it. If you get to pick one, you get one of those. I wouldn't bother doing it. But if I had immunity, I'd probably take it. Of elemental immunity, when you take this boon, you choose one elemental. Yes, I think that's how it needs to be. I think that's, yeah. Elemental immunity. Let's do that. Elemental immunity. Okay. So elemental immunity, we've agreed on this. You have immunity to immunity to one type of damage. From the following. And I would get rid of this burning hands nonsense, because burning hands, not really a thing for me. I have just eliminated that one, that feat, by the way. Clearly, I have just removed it. And I would include fire and a few other things. So acid, cold, fire. Acid, cold, fire. Let's get rid of this. Because this is one of the biggest problems when you're high level, is you can't travel to other planes because you would never be able to survive them. Lightning, necrotic. Oh, that's not right. Necrotic. What else is there that we need to add in here? Let's have a look. Necrotic. Well, poison's not elemental, is it? That's the problem. Poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder. Psychic, radiant, or thunder. Have I missed anything? Have I included enough? I don't know that it's element. Is it element? Acid? It's elemental. It's an element, I guess. Cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder. Well, I like that better. I feel like that is a feature that I would consider. Fire, acid, poison, cold, lightning, and thunder. Yeah. Okay, well let's leave that there. That's fine. Let's keep going. Boon of Night Spirit. While completely in an area of dim light or darkness, you can become invisible as an action. What? What? You remain invisible until you take an action or reaction. Da 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 da. Action. Boon of. Okay, so this is a different boon here. Let's just drop this down. Boon of Stormborn. Immunity to lightning and thunder damage. Yeah, forget about this. We've got one boon that does what we need it to do. Let's ditch that. We don't need that one. I don't think it even made it back into the other stuff. Anyway, so you become invisible. This boon of Night Spirit. Do we still have boon of Night Spirit, or did they ditch it? No, they ditched Boon of Night Spirit. Why do they ditch Boon of Night Spirit? There must be a reason. Undetectability. I know what it is. It's got to be undetectability. You gain a +10 bonus to dexterity, stealth checks, and you can't be detected or targeted by divine magic, including scrying senses. Undetectability. So, this is similar but not the same. I think Night Spirit is kind of shite. I wouldn't take it myself. While completely in an area of dim light or darkness, you can become invisible as an action. Now, I don't have a problem with that, really. But why does it have to be dim light and darkness? And you remain invisible until you take an action or reaction. Again, I don't think that's necessarily what we need to do here. I think what it needs to be called is Boon of Invisibility. Would I like to be invisible at level 20 without somebody having to cast a spell on me? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Boon of Invisibility. And would I like it to not be like a spell? Well, it's kind of a magical thing, and at level 20 you're kind of getting magical anyway. There's a lot of stuff here that's very magical. Well, I would say while completely in dim light or darkness. No, screw this. Let's just get rid of that nonsense. You can become invisible as an action. That's it. You remain invisible until you take an action or reaction. I don't want to do it that way. No. I don't want them to stay invisible indefinitely, because that would be too good, even for level 20. But how can we use invisibility? Invisibility is infiltration, sneaking around and being really good at doing it. There are a bunch of people who would really like to have that. Rogues would like it. Anybody who is not wearing heavy armor would enjoy that as a feature. It is very much a, it's very sort of, what is it? What's the word? Sinbad the Sailor, or is it, it's more Greek hero sort of stuff. The Cloak of Invisibility. It's basically the Cloak of Invisibility, isn't it? That's what we're talking about here. So let's just end it. You remain invisible until you make an attack or cast a spell. That's it. We just end it there. So now you get to sneak around. Your first attack will probably have advantage because you will be unseen. They will have disadvantage on you if they're trying to attack you, provided you don't make any attacks or cast spells. But then it ends as soon as you make an attack or cast a spell. That's a level 20 feature. Invisible and hidden. No, I think that's See, I rule invisibility different to other people. You know, the reality is you become invisible as an action. Invisibility just means you can now hide, and you're going to be hard to figure out where you are. Now, every game master in my group tends to rule invisibility different. Okay, in my head, it works this way. I use it because I've had to fight in the dark before. I know how difficult it is to target somebody when you can't see the sodding bugger. Okay, I've actually had to fight in pitch blackness in a room against other people. Listening to them and hearing somebody moving around so you can punch them or kick them, even with a lot of training, is very difficult. It's not very easy at all, even with a lot of training. And I'd be one of the few individuals who probably had to do that sort of training because I don't think they do that sort of thing. We used to get a bad rap, I believe, when we were doing this. I used to practice Goshin Tokai. It doesn't exist anymore, by the way. So listening to somebody is not good enough to find your position. Once they're invisible, now if they go invisible and they stay where they are, you know roughly where they are. If you walk up to them and try to hit them, you would have disadvantage. That's how I would rule it. Now, if they are invisible and they move and they change locations, now you have to guess where you think they are. Now you have to, in battle, you have to give up your action to make a search check. Basically a perception check to figure out where they might be by listening to them or trying to smell them if they stink, okay? Because you can't see them anymore. Or maybe they're leaving footprints. So you're really reliant on the terrain they're moving on for them to leave a trail for you, which they quite often won't. You can't hear diddly squat in the middle of a battle usually. Even when it's really quiet, it's hard to figure out people's location. So you don't even get disadvantage. You're now guessing. If you've picked the wrong location, you won't even if you make the attack, it won't be with disadvantage because you won't hit anything. So invisibility to sneak around is pretty good. Staying invisible and being able to attack and cast spells would be way, way too much. But I think this works. What do you got here, Shy X? Spell mastery is good. It's like half of the wizard's spell mastery. There's a few spells that are good without spell slots. Yeah, I don't like spell mastery myself. That's the only thing. I ditched it for a good reason. But anyway, so I think this is the new feature for Boon of Invisibility. Let's keep that. Boon of Unfettered, of the Unfettered. You have advantage on ability checks made to resist being grappled. In addition, you can use an action to automatically grapple. Oh, good lord. Would anybody ever take that? Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's almost impossible to find a croaking frog by just listening to where it is. It's so hard. Bag of flour, toss it in the air. Yeah, bag of flour is all very well, but you need like a top dressing plane to fly over above and drop a whole lot of flour over a wide area to figure out where they are. And it's a technique that I've used before, but it's not very successful. You need to all have a bag of flour and be throwing it all over the place. It just doesn't work. Anyway, so true sight we're keeping. Undetectability. I really don't like this feature a lot. Part of the reason is not so much the it's not so much the plus 10 to bonus to the dexterity stealth check, and you can't be detected or targeted by divine magic, including scrying senses. Being undetectable by scrying senses at level 20, maybe. Divine magic, can't be targeted by divine magic. Again, that's a maybe. This here, we've already done this. This can go. That can go. We don't need that. It's already up the top. I don't know what to do with this to make this work, because I don't think it works the way that it needs to. Undetectability. You can't be seen or heard by any means, magical or non-magical, while you are hidden. I think that's better. They have tamed it down a little bit. They've made it a little bit easier to deal with. You can't be seen or heard by any means, magical or non-magical. It's pretty simple while you are hidden. But is it doing anything more than the invisibility one would do, other than taking out the invisible factor? Being invisible, you can still be detected by see invisibility. Do you know what I mean? Is permanent pass without trace. If you can't find them, light it and get scorched. Yes, flour dust in the air floating would cause an explosion. That's true. It's better, but I'm just trying to think: is undetectability any better than just the invisibility thing? It says you're unheard. You're not unheard if you're invisible, but it's a moot point, really. Magical or non-magical, it would supersede that. It's doing too many different things, I think. My general feeling is I would get rid of the undetectability and keep the invisibility thing. That's my general feeling. So I'm going to just mark this in orange for now, which probably means it's going to get deleted. Spell recall essentially for me is like spell mastery. Let's go through here and have a look. There's a few things here I need to deal with. Okay, moving down. Okay, there are a few things that my players have asked me to do. And there's a few things I would like to include here that Wizards of the Coast didn't do. Boon of the Amphibious. You have a swim speed equal to your walking speed. In addition, you can breathe air and water. I think I would like to line that up as that feature like that. I'm not sure if it's enough though. So I'm going to take this feature. I need you guys to tell me, is this strong enough? I don't know that it is. It does a lot. It gets you into a underwater environment. It allows you to be there, swim and breathe. And you don't have to have a fin or be a triton, basically, or a sea elf. You would just have this. So swim speed equal to your walking speed. In addition, you can breathe air and water. Yeah. What are people's thoughts on that one? I'm going to put that down for now, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. Next, we've done the damage immunity thing. I had thought about this a little bit, so I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of that. We've kind of done that already. I'm going to give... look, there's a spell called telepathy. We know this. It's fine. So, boon of telepathy. I really like the idea that we can bridge the communication gap as much as possible. This is why I would like to include this one. You're probably thinking, why would I bother? But being able to communicate with another monster, creature, beast, telepathically solves a lot of problems. You're trying to do the Aquaman thing, aren't you? I get the impression you're trying to include Shy X, the Aquaman thing. I don't know about double. Boon of the amphibious. I think a swim speed equal to your walking speed, and you can breathe under air and water is probably. Is there anything else that is there anything else that could be included that would make being underwater and amphibious better? I'm just trying to think of, is there anything else that would make it easier to navigate underwater and be underwater and live underwater if you wanted to do that? Okay, all right. Have a think about it. I was thinking about underwater combat, but underwater combat, I don't think we can change that much with that. Underwater combat's kind of shitey as it is. So fiddling with it might just be a bit annoying. Next, telepathy. Let's find the spell telepathy, and let's make this as simple as possible. Telepathy. Teleport. Telepathy. Here we go. 8th level spell. I know it's a high level spell, people, but you are level 8. Level 20. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. You have a swim speed. Is there any, is the Triton like that? I wonder if the Triton is like that. Races. Triton. Does the Triton have a feature that kind of works like that? Does anybody remember? Air, Earth, no. Sea elf. What has the sea elf got? Yes, I mean, there are a few races and classes with a swim speed equal to walking speed. I was thinking of them. Yeah, no, but your weapon attack thing, I'm just wondering, is there anything that sort of, would it make sense? Would it make sense, and would it be a good idea? Trance, people communicate, beasts, extraordinary animals, da-da-da-da. Okay. I don't want to turn it into too much, but I'm just concerned that maybe it's not enough water. Genasi, let's go here. Oh, there's a Triton as well. Okay. Let's see. Creature lifespan, amphibious, air, water, resistant to acid damage. No, we're not going to worry about that. You've your walking speed of 30 feet, and you have a swim speed equal to your walking speed. That's fine. Call the waves. Okay. Dark vision. Water walk. All those spell casting things. I'm not on for that. Let's try the Triton. The Tritons feel like is a closer thing to what we're after. Lifespan, amphibious, air, water, control air or no, dark vision, emissary of the seas. You can communicate simple ideas to animal, beasts, and monstrosities. Have a swim speed. It can understand your word. Okay. Guardians of the depths. Okay. You have a swim speed equal to your walking speed. In addition, you can breathe air and water. I would be happy to include being able to communicate with sea animals or creatures. I would be fine with something like that. You can communicate simple ideas to beasts, elementals, or monstrosities that have a swim speed. Ranged weapons can only shoot in their short range. Yeah, it would lock the entire range. Yeah, I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if that's really what I want to do with that. It can understand your words, though you have no special ability to understand in return. Really, it's the Aquaman ability. Really, that's what we're dealing with here. It's Aquaman. In addition, you can breathe air and water, walk speed, da-da-da. I don't know that it's good enough as it is, as a level 20 feature. but being able to communicate might be a better thing. Guardians of the Depths. Adapt to the frigid oceans. You have resistance to the cold damage. I'm not suggesting that we're going to the depths of the ocean, but I'm wondering about this other thing, the communication thing. Telepathy would sort of supersede that, but let's just see this. You can commit simple ideas to any beast, elemental, or monstrosity that has a swim speed in addition. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do the teleportation one. I feel like the boon of the amphibious is epic enough. It's doing enough things. It's not really a combat thing. It's all right. It's all right. Boon of telepathy. Let's deal with telepathy as we run out of time. You create a telepathic link between yourself and a willing creature with which you are familiar. The creature you can be anywhere in the same plane of existence as you. Okay, so this is too much. What I think we want to do is let's do this. Let's create a telepathic link. You can create a telepathic link with any creature you can see. That's it. That's all I want to do with that. That's it. I think it needs to be as simple as that. Bridge the communication barrier. Turn role-playing into role-playing. Telepathy does that. And a level 20 feature, I'm all for it. Calrel, hello Calrel. Please feel free to drop your suggestions and ideas in. I am filling in the blanks right now. You can create a telepathic link with any creature you can see. As long as you can see them, you can communicate with them. I think that's good enough. I don't want to have a distance range. If you can see them, you can communicate with them. If they were invisible, you wouldn't be able to do it. So, yeah, let's do it that way. Next. It's only logical. Absolutely, Fred Huber. Plane shifting, we've got that down. We've got the dimensional travel thing working. Wings is a dangerous one. I know, people. Boon of exotic mount. Now, the problem with when we had unicorn mounts, if we got our mount killed, our deity would have brought down all hell on us. So it's a dangerous one to write, this one, I think. So, yes, I'm not sure how I'm going to structure that one, but I have to build the other one, the magical pet, because I have a player who would require it. You gain pointed ears, mind meld. Let's go here. Copy. Boon of magical pet. For those of you who hate pets in the game, you're going to freak out right now. I totally get it. I have enjoyed killing many pets, familiars, animal companions over the years, and encourage players to always, if possible, get themselves an animal companion or a pet. Is it because I just want to kill another one? I don't know. I have been told that this is one of my weakest aspects of the game, is my desire to encourage people to go and get more of them, and I just kill them again. It's just something happens, the monster, fireball, you name it. They die, okay? So for those of you who are watching me write this one up, this is really not for you. This is for me. They will have figured out that they have to get before level 20. What's that? Amount. Yeah, they will have a mount before they. Yeah, and that's actually a good point. I was just thinking about all the classes, and a lot of them do get mounts in the. It's not a level 20 feature. When I think about it, we did not have a mount at level 20. Exotic mount is actually, you're quite right. It's more of a level 15 or 10, or it's really around there. Yeah, now I can fireball their magical pet and it won't die. It will, but it'll be different because here's the thing with your magical pet. I know, and you know how I feel about duplicating something that's already a spell, like Find Familiar. It is not designed to be the Find Familiar. Okay. So let's draw up a thing. A magical creature is bound to you and can't be killed. Is this the way I have to structure it? I don't know. The Mount Paladin at level 9 and 11. Yeah. Okay, so now how do bound. A magical creature is bound to you and can't be killed. This magical creature can't doesn't attack. It is not intended to be another way of making attacks. This magical creature doesn't attack, cast spells. What else do I need to include in here? Because I was talking to Kirsty about when I was this and how it should be structured. So it would be different to a familiar. This magical creature can't be attacked. Okay. A magical creature is bound to you and can't be attacked or dismissed. It's always around. I want to rewrite the 5e Find Familiar back to more second edition. Too much familiar swapping. So this is where you have to pick your thing and there's no swapping things out. It's going to be you can pick your pet and that's it. This magical creature doesn't attack, cast spells. Anything else I need to include? Or take the help action, or use the help action. It's probably a good idea. It's not really what I was intending it to do, but what can it do? What can it do? Because it's still got to do something. It's not just a pet that follows you around. It still has to do something. And we need to determine what sort of pets you can have. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to tie in a few different things. Find Familiar. Back up here. Sources, spells, no, rules, spells, find familiar. Bit of cutting and pasting just to speed things up. Hopefully, if this website's not traveling too slowly, maybe it is. Find familiar. Give me the find familiar spell, please. Touching. There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. All right. Now, it doesn't have a time frame. It's always there. It may actually cause more of a problem for you than anything else because. Okay. And I'm just trying to think of, is that going to include everything that Kirsty's probably going to want? Appearing in occupied space, is based on transfer form, low celestial favorite fiend. No, not worrying about that. It's not any of those. It's just a magical pet. And it doesn't, you can't see through its eyes or anything like that. It's just a... I know what you're thinking. Why would you even take this? Again, as I'm trying to remind people that this isn't really designed for you guys, okay? This one is designed for Kirsty in my group. You choose an animal you must select an animal and you take this boon. Come on. You must select an animal when you take this boon. Bat, cat, yes. Crab, frog, toad, hawk, lizard, octopus. Do I really want octopus in here? An octopus? I don't know about that. I have a cat. Yeah, she loves cats. I gotta put cat in there. Oh, sod it. I gotta put dog in there. I've got to put a dog in there because I know dogs are going to come up. It's always the thing. It's always a sodding dog. Anyway, let me have a look. What sort of dog can we have? Is there like a normal dog, or you can have a Can you have a baboon? I'll give you a baboon. Yeah, you can have a baboon. Screw it. Yeah, have a baboon. Yeah, baboon. Boon. Oh, I know somebody's going to want a honey badger. Did I put badger down? I didn't put badger. Badger. Did I put bat? Bat's there. You know, no blink dogs, not going to happen. Blood hawk. We've got hawk already. A boar? No, I don't think so. We'll leave boar away. We've got... I don't want camel, but a cat's fine. A crab is fine. A deer, not really. I don't think so. Too big. Going to be a pain. Dire wolves, no. Draft horses, no. An eagle. You can have an eagle. Well, if you can have a hawk, why can't you have an eagle? We've got frog, toad. We've got frog is fine. A frog's fine. An eagle. Eagles are here again. You learn to make cheeseburgers when you... Right, yeah. No. It doesn't need any hit points because it can't die. It's eliminated from death. but we've got to be able to make... Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those things that this is a little bit nuts, I have to say. Flying snakes, I don't think so. Forget about the flying snake. Not having an elephant. Giant bats, giant boars, no giant centipedes. None of that sort of nonsense. We don't need them. Don't want giant lizards. It's giant scorpions. This is all giant stuff. No, it's small and compact. No goats. A hawk. Well, we've got hawk already. Don't want a jackal. A jackal is kind of like a hyena, and a jackal actually are not bad. They're kind of like dogs, aren't they? Oh, right. As long as the pet can't participate in combat. I really don't care. As long as it can't participate in combat. That's the only thing that I'm trying to do. Here we go. So let's add in hunter shark. No. Hawk is fine. Hyena. Hyena. Jackal. Jackal. Let's include the jackal. Killer whale, no. Jackal is small. Medium sized. A hyena's medium sized. A jackal or a hyena? Hyena, jackal. Okay. Yeah. Any beast. I was going here, Fred. I was heading that way. I was actually heading that way, but I was just going to add in a few things. And octopus. I'm going to just take the octopus off because I don't want an octopus. It's too much of a pain. An owl. A panther. I don't think so. Mastiff. I'm going to take out the hyena. I'm just going to put jackal. Jackal for now. I mean, essentially, it's a challenge rating 0 creature, right? You're right. Monkey. Yes, monkeys. I would have blanketed it to a challenge rating 0 beast. I wouldn't say familiar, but beast. That's probably fine. You can select an animal. And when you take this boon, that has a challenge rating of 0. Okay, you must select an animal when you take this boon that has a challenge rating of 0. I think that's probably fine. That'll probably cover everything. Yeah. That sort of that gets rid of all of the other things they might sort of try to put in front of you. But really, I know what's going to happen. Kirsty's just going to want a cat, probably. she may up the ante a little bit. That's really probably about it, though. Okay, so now that we've done this, what is our magical pet actually able to do, other than just wind up being a tag along? A magical creature that is bound to you can't be killed or dismissed. The magical creature doesn't attack, cast spells, or use the help action. Let's just grab this bit here, cut, paste it here. You can communicate because she's going to want to be able to communicate with it. Lash laws might apply. You can communicate with the magical creature and give it instructions. It will follow. Without question. It doesn't have to worry about anything. Yes, it can be used as a scout. You can communicate any idea with the magical creature and give it instructions it will follow without question. But it will not be casting spells, making attacks, or using the help action. That's it. I think that's really what Kirsty was after in the first place. I think that's done it. It's basically a utility pet. It's a utility magical pet. I'm not going to have it glowing in the dark. I'm just going to go with that. Okay, now that I've created something that's really not for you guys, but I mean, if you like the idea, great. Let's move on. Wings. Wings is a problem. I'm not too sure that I want to do wings, but my group have done it before, and Boon of Wings. You grow. You grow large feather, large wings that can be covered in feathers, scales, or what's another way? I don't know. Level 20, you can now fly. Boon of Wings. So I don't know. I can't remember what else there is. Or a skin membrane. Okay. These wings allow you to fly. Now, how far did he say it was? I think JP made it. Was it 20 feet? Was it my speed? I think he made it my walking speed. Allow you to fly your walking speed. Right. You can't hover, carry passengers. I'm pretty sure he said that. Passengers. You can't hover, carry passengers. What was the other thing? Oh, be heavily encumbered. Oh, be encumbered. Was it heavily encumbered? Encumbered, be encumbered. Yep, I got at your walking speed. Fly at your walking speed. You can't hover, carry passengers, be encumbered. What was the other thing? And must land on solid at the end of your turn. Otherwise you will fall. I believe it was very limited flight that he gave me. I don't believe that I was allowed to just keep flying around indefinitely. He did make a pretty big limit on it. Is that clear? I don't know. Hopefully it is. I'm hoping it is. I'm really hoping it is. Yeah, so I think that covered all of it. You grow large wings that can be covered, that are covered in either feathers, scales, or a skin membrane. These wings allow you to fly at your walking speed. You can't hover, carry passengers, be encumbered, and must land at the end of your turn, otherwise you will fall. I think that's it. And would I take this feature at level 20? I don't know, but since my group included it, I don't think I can leave it out. So we're going to keep that there. Let's go through here. Epic mounts. I don't know that that's necessary. Now that I think about it, I think it would be unnecessary to have a exotic mount, because I've built mounts heavily in the classes that I'm remastering. So it's a moot point. So I'm going to just take that out for now. And I'm going to move this up here. We're going to see what else we've got here. Has that done it? Yes, yes, yes. Boon of undetectability. I am not a fan of this. Really not. Undetectability. It's better the way it is, but I'm just like, the magical one is the magical, like Boon of invisibility. I feel like it does most of what you were trying to do there anyway. I think I'm going to delete it. I don't think we need it. I think the boon of invisibility is fine. There's too much crossover. Yeah. Yep. For me, I'm going to remove it. I don't think it needs to be there. Next, boon of spell recall. Again, I don't think there's any point in doing anything with spells or a spellcaster, because you get everything that you really need. I mean, short of having unlimited 9th level spells, which of course you'd take that, but that ain't going to be an option. I just don't see that there's much point in doing any of this. You can cast any spell you know or have prepared without being a spell slot. Once you do so, you can use this boon again. Yeah. No, I don't think so. Get rid of that. Next, we've got them, we've got that, boon of recovery. I don't want to, look, there's so much stuff that makes you recover hit points as it is in 5e that I don't know that boon of recovery is actually a necessity at all. Boon of recovery just seems like another waste of your time, because like, all it's going to do is annoy a game master rather than do anything else that would be helpful. So boon of recovery is definitely on. I feel like it should be on the chopping block. It's one of those things where I think a game master would just remove it anyway, even if it did exist. I think they would just look at it and say, look, you got saving throws, you've got spells, you've got spare the dying, you've got heck, you've got a medicine, you've got a healer's kit. Your healing kit is good enough. Like, just why do you need to have more stuff? So I'm going to just get rid of that as well. Let's get rid of that one. It does need to be there. Next, boon of perfect health. You are immune to all all blind, deafened, disease. You are immune to all conditions that blind that include you are immune to these conditions. Diseases. That's not really how you word it, eh? There's a better way of doing that. I'm just trying to figure out how to do that right now. Blindness, deafness, diseases, paralysis, paralysis, paralysis and poisons. Poisons, and you have advantage. No, paralysis. Poisons. In addition, you have advantage on Constitution saving throws. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that. I'm going to make that a thing as a boon. Now, boon of luck. The lucky boon. The boon of luck. We had a lot of discussions around this quite a bit, didn't we? So, boon of luck. You can add or subtract a d10 roll from any ability check, attack roll, okay, or saving throw that you make or another creature makes that you can see. During a battle, you can only use this boon once. So, that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that covers all of our bases. I don't like dice roll mechanics, but I don't know how else I would structure it. I think that's all right. Now, boon of invulnerability. When you take damage from any source that is a single attack or spell, you can reduce that damage to 0. I think that's probably fine as well. This one, the regeneration, I actually think that needs to go completely. I think the regeneration and the fortitude thing, we'll just get rid of it completely. And then boon of combat prowess. I'm actually happier with this now, the way it is. So we're going to just lock that in. So we've got a few new boons, and we've got some changes to things. So that's one. Boon of combat prowess. When you miss or are hit with a single unarmed strike, melee or ranged weapon attack, you can choose to make it a critical hit. You only use this boon once per battle. You can only use it. Okay. Boon of teleportation. As an action, you can teleport yourself to a location that you have been to in the past. The teleportation only allows you to travel within the world you are on. During a battle, you can only use this boon once. Boon of invulnerability. When you take damage from any source that is a single attack or spell, you can reduce that damage to 0. You can only use this once per battle. Done. Boon of luck. You can add or subtract a d10 roll to any ability check, attack roll, or saving throw you make, or another creature makes that you can see. During a battle, you can only use this boon once. There we go. Boon of magic resistance. Now, is that going to be a problem? No, I'm fine with that outside of combat. It's not a big deal. Let's leave that alone. Boon of magic resistance. Yeah, it is so much like the lucky feat. It really is. It is a little bit like the lucky. Actually, the lucky feat might even be better. Would you say this is better than the lucky feat, or is the lucky feat better? Those of you who are still here, is Boon of Luck as good as the lucky feat, or do you think the lucky feat is actually better than this? I feel like this is a bit more broader, so it's doing a lot more. So you are affecting luck on a grander scale than normal, but if you think that maybe that's not the case, then please let me know. I'm just looking at the lucky feat now, if I can find it. Lucky feat. Lucky. You get 3 luck points whenever you make an attack roll, of which you can say something. You can spend a luck point in addition. You can choose to spend one of these luck points whenever you roll a dice. Blah, blah, blah. You can choose when to blah, blah, blah. You can also spend 1 luck point when you attack. It's made against you. Roll a d20. Choose. Okay, so that's for an attack, but not a saving throw or ability check. It is very similar. You are right. The Boon of Luck is very, very similar, but it is applied to ability checks, attack rolls, saving throws as well. And it's advantage rather than the d10. Okay. Okay, let's keep going. Boon of magic resistance. You have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. I didn't think it needed any change. It was good. Next, boon of perfect health. You're immune to blindness, deafness, diseases, paralysis, and poisons. In addition, you have advantage on constitution saving throws. I think that's better. Boon of dimensional travel. You can now use an action to travel to a different plane of existence, targeting yourself only. During a battle, you can only use this boon once. Boon of resilience. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. That's fine. Boon of skill proficiency. You gain proficiency in all skills. That's fine. Boon of speed. Your walking speed increases by 30 feet. In addition, when you move, you can include the dash or disengage action for free. Boon of elemental immunity. You have immunity to one type of damage from the following: acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder. Okay, keep going. Boon of invisibility. You can become invisible as an action. You remain invisible until you make an attack or cast a spell. So, you could reuse it. I have not stipulated you can only use it once per battle, but there would be no point doing it more than... You start off with it and then, or do it in the middle of the battle, and then you're really not going to gain that much. It's going to be more useful outside of battle, in my opinion. Okay, next thing. Boon of true sight. It's actually fine. You have true sight up to a range of 60 feet. I actually think that's a suitable epic boon. Boon of the amphibious. You have a swim speed equal to your walking speed. You can communicate simple ideas to any beast, elemental, or monstrosity that has a swim speed. In addition, you can breathe air and water. So, we've eliminated the problem of being underwater for you. Boon of telepathy. You can create a telepathic link with any creature that you can see. They do not have to have a language. That's fine. Boon of magical pet. This is for me, guys. This is my group. So if you don't like it, I totally understand. But this is really for Kirsty. A magical creature is bound to you and can't be killed or dismissed. You must select an animal when you take this boon that has a challenge rating of 0. This magical creature doesn't attack, cast spells, or use the help action. You can communicate any idea with the magical... You can communicate any idea to the magical creature and give it instructions it will follow without question. There you go. And then boon of wings. You grow large wings that are covered in either feathers, scales, or a skin membrane. These wings allow you to fly at your walking speed. You can't hover, carry passengers, or be encumbered, and must land at the end of your turn, otherwise you will fall. And that is my epic boons. There may be new epic boons that I add to this, but at this present time, I think that covers everything. If anybody can think of something I have not considered in terms of the epic boons, that maybe I need to add something else, feel free to put that forward and I'll see what I think. But that's it. I think we're done for today with regard to that one. Wow, that took a little while. I didn't expect it to take quite as long. I should have known better. Let's end this poll here and see what we have in terms of people who have responded. Kind of interested to see. Do you think the epic boons need to be fixed for Dungeons & Dragons 5e? Yes, 50%. Undecided, 25%. Just watching, 25%. And no, 0. Okay. So a lot of you are either on the fence or you think there is a problem, and there's 20 votes. I always thought the epic boons were pretty bad. After actually going through and doing the work and trying to nut out how to do them, I'm more and more inclined to think that they did have a whole lot of problems that needed to be sorted out. I'm going to put this up onto Patreon. I think this will be a first draft on Patreon. I'll put it up there. I should be able to do it tomorrow, along with... Oh, the monster we made yesterday. I think I got that nutted out. So I think it's going to wind up being called the Lunar Lice, which is really strange, I know. But It all just came together. I was working on it last night, and it sort of came together. So maybe that'll wind up on Patreon. I still got to do some adventures and get them up onto Patreon. I've got a few things to sort out. I just think they're too far at level 20. I just think they're too far at level 20. You mean they're going too far in terms of what they can do? If you've ever seen what level 20 characters can do, and I'm sure some of you have, if you've been playing long enough, you probably have. Trust me, man, level 20 characters. Geesh. But if you're going to be level 20, the level 20 capstones in 5e are pretty bad. Nobody was inclined to think there were no problems with boons. Yeah, I'm inclined to think there were problems. Anyway, I'm going to get going. I've got to go and cook some food, and I'm going to be going to a movie, so I better go get myself organised. So looking forward to that. Yee-haw. Happy about that one. Anyway, huge thank you to everybody who showed up today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and listening. And I know it was a long live stream, but you know, when we get to the classes, it's going to be 4 or 5 hours if I chew through that one. We will be going back to them, but not just yet. My office is still too yeah. You're like, I liked them earlier. No problems. Thank you. All right. Thank you for taking part in the poll. Thank you to my my patrons who support me on Patreon so I can keep doing this. I will try to get as much of the stuff that we make here up onto Patreon as I can. Probably tomorrow and not today. And look, those of you who have been in the chat commenting, Cal Rel, Shy X, thank you. Fred Huber, Nacho Man, I believe, wasn't Pale Rider here at one point? He's almost always here at some point, is usually Pale Rider chiming in. XY Tech, and is it Tech? I think it's Tech, XY Tech. Who else did I have? Phil was hanging out with us for a little while. Somebody who's actually very familiar with this sort of stuff. The Dream's Gone. Thank you for your feedback and your information. Mr. Welsh. Holla. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for hanging out for a little while. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, please look after yourself. Whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the evening. Look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And I've run out of steam, so I've got to go. So till next time, keep rolling those 20s.